let me just start by saying that for those that weren't here, this training session is to give everybody who's here an opportunity to discuss amongst each other and with me and Wraith and Blend City if he's gonna unmute himself. Anybody who's interested in asking questions that someone else might be able to answer, and then we can also go over some useful exercises of things that you can do outside of this, where you can come into the training server with a friend or a couple people and practice these things, or however you'd like to do it. So basically feel free at any time to stop and ask a question or state if you have a need, if you want to go over something specific, just let us know at any specific time is okay. That being said, so there's some basic things. You need to set a respawn button, okay, and I'll give you an example of that in chat. 1 second. Okay, so I set mine to Q. Just you can. It only works on a server with cheats, so it doesn't matter if it's bound twice. Okay, so here's the binding that you can use if you would like to set Q, for example, as your respawn button. So you open your console, and if you were to put that in there, then whenever you die, when you press Q, you instantly go back. And even if you don't die, you can press Q and respawn right where in the last place that you died. Okay, and this is very useful for you to be able to fight against other people in a training way. Like if you come into the training server, you can turn on cheats, you set the upgrades you want, and then you fight other people. What's going on with the hive? Why is the hive dead? What was that?
The Gorge shot.
Why did we set the damage scale to high?
He shot it. The Gorge shot the hive.
That's funny.
Almost set the damage right to like 1 million.
Now we have to rechange the map, reset everything.
So where are you posting the where did you post the respawn bind?
In the chat. So it's just bind space and then the capital letter if it's going to be a letter key. If you put like bind space lowercase p, it's going to pop up because that's an invalid bind. It'll pop up a list of potential binds.
So I see the general chat.
Okay, in
Chat. Hello?
Okay, so what happened was I changed the map because somebody had changed the damage scaling, which means that we can't really do the... Hold on, and then the auto commander thing. Okay, we gotta reload the map again because the commander thing is gonna break the stuff. So I'll tune this server so that it has all the settings we want and it'll be up 24/7, and then you can find it and use it and favorite it and do whatever you want to do in order to do the training. You can do it just as a way to practice with friends. Just grab another person, come in here and kill each other over and over, practice your life forms, etc. Okay. So don't go and get a bunch of upgrades or anything like that. We're just going to set up 2 shells at the moment. 2 shells. Okay, and we're going to get armor 1. And we'll meet over at Topo.
How do I go lurk?
You can just type lurk in console. Okay, so we're going to go to Topo and we're just going to do a basic exercise that I'd like to start off with as a regular example of things that you can do at any level of skill, as well as ways that you can practice with other people, even if it's one-on-ones and you just keep resetting it, etc. So we're gonna do this as a type of drill, really common concept, but basically the idea is that when you do a drill, so basically what you're going to want to do is think of different rooms or scenarios that are common in actual gameplay with a set of upgrades that are common, and then focus on doing things like taking that engagement in a realistic way over and over. So we'll go ahead and example. Let's get 2 Marines and 2 or 3 Skulks. We'll say 3 Skulks. Let's get 2 Marines and 3 Skulks. So we're at the beginning of the game. You have, you know, Armor 1's just come up. There's only 2 shells at this point, and for whatever reason you've decided as Skulks that you're going to come and kill Topo, and then the people that are coming out of Topo, there's 2 Marines pushing this lane, and so now here's an engagement where basically this could happen in a game. And, you know, you may not choose to take this engagement for obvious reasons. You might say, well, I'll just parasite him and go somewhere else, whatever, but we're going to pretend that you've decided as Skulks that you're going to jump in on the room and the Marines are, you know, defending themselves and trying to push through to East Junction or whatever. Okay? So we need 2 Marines and 3 Skulks. The Skulks will come over by the C12 side, and then the 2 Marines will come over to Topo. Everybody else, if you're observing, put yourself in a position where you're, you know, like out of the way in the corner or something like that. You can go lurk and go sit up in the, you know, on a wall, or you can go into spectate and look at people's first persons, whatever you'd like to do, but just make sure that you're not a distraction for the people that are doing the drill. Okay? So, like I said, the idea of this is just to give you an opportunity to, you know, see how you can simulate an engagement, and then we can talk about the specifics of that engagement, you know, right here. And for aliens, okay, so we've got Backfat, Spylix, and Yoko Onos. And then for Marines, we have, to start with, we've got Magic and Night Archer. Okay, so some tips to keep in mind before doing this drill. 1, the Marines, when you come into the room, you want to make sure that you're kind of timing, if you're running, like just in general, you're running from Marine start. When you get to the point of where you pass this threshold of this archway, you need to be aware of the fact that they could be sitting above you, they could be sitting around you, they could be all over the place, right? So you don't want to just run blindly and keep holding the run button if you don't know anything about where anyone's at. And once you get into the room, what you want to do is make sure that you have good visibility of the different corners of the room, right? So that basically your positioning as you move throughout the room gives you the most distance with the best angle of things like the vent, the door that enters, and then the geometry of the room that allows the aliens to move around freely. Okay, and for the alien side, what you want to do, when you get into the room, you need to basically split up in a way that allows you to diversify the range of view that the Marine has to take in order to take out all of you. So for example, if one person comes in and they come around the right side, either at the top or in the bottom, using the geometry of the room to help guard themselves for a portion of the time, you can jump up and parasite, or you can climb up onto stuff if you want, but if you come in and you spread out and you come over to the right, and then another Skulk comes up and jumps through on the left, and another one comes through the middle, now it's exponentially more difficult for Marines, especially if you're hitting them from both sides. So these are the types of concepts where, you know, you want to work on different strategies. It's going to be spontaneous as you go through the fighting, but basically you want to figure out, how do I, you know, increase my chances of winning this fight if I'm committed to this fight? And like I said, this isn't about the logic that you would take in a normal game and whether it's a good decision to come in the room or not. This is just simply about if you had to fight in Topo and you were desperate to get that RT down, how would you do it as a Skulk? And if you were a Marine and your goal was to get out on the map and you come into Topo and there's 3 Skulks jumping in, what do you do? And so let's go ahead and start this drill. So basically in about, I don't know, 3, 2, 1. Skulks go, Marines go. Okay, so press your respawn buttons, right? Like if. Okay, so it's bind, and then a letter of your choice, uppercase, or you know, if you don't know the bindings, like maybe you want to use a mouse button or something, you can just put like bind on lowercase p, like bind space lowercase p, and because that's an incorrect binding, it'll give you a list of different buttons that you could use, what their actual syntax is. And the other thing is, if you want to set your spawn, like right now we've got these Skulks ready to go in the room. Okay, you can kill yourself by typing kill in console, and then when you press respawn, you'll respawn at that location. So if you want to set a spawn location, you can kill. And sometimes when I'm drilling, I just want to, I set a kill binding as well. And the command is respawn, so it's bind, uppercase letter, or whatever binding, space respawn. And then also you can bind a kill button if you would like to make it convenient for yourself to like reset your spawn location.
Testing out new mods. Nah, I'm good.
I can get the bind to work.
There's an example of a kill and a respawn bind that works, and you can do that in console and that would work. Okay, so we're going to do this drill, and we're going to do it a handful of times, and between each time we're going to talk about some of the stuff you can do differently, and then we'll swap out who's doing the drills, okay? And even though you won't be able to drill for a long time doing this for each individual, you now have an idea of what you can do when you join the training server by yourself. You'll be able to turn on the cheats, grab a couple friends, and say, okay, let's fight over here. And you can do it any way you want. You could just attack each other endlessly and respawn, or you could do things like, you know, I'm going to set up a set piece, and we're going to try this play. Okay, you're going to be in this room and defend or whatever, right? So let's go ahead and get the drill going again. We need 2 Marines. Okay, guys, 2 Marines at the top of Topo and 3 Skulks at East Junction. Okay, and this is the 3 versus 2 is designed to give you a little bit more of a challenge for the Marines to, you know, learn how to take an engagement with multiple targets and prioritize those targets and figure out how to beat them when they're using the room. For the Skulks, your idea is to intelligently and creatively use the room. You can look at geometry of the room, like in Topo, if you come in here, look at the top of the room. There's actually an entire area you can go and traverse the room without being seen as easily. You could potentially use stuff like that, or you could use the little railing around the edge, climb up the walls, however you want to do it. Your goal is, as a group, to win this fight. Okay, so ready? Go. 3 Skulks, 2 Marines. Guys, if you're not one of the 3 Skulks, you need to like go onto a wall. Okay, so let's pick 3 people, right? Oh yeah, it's too confusing. So Hustlebones, Spylix, Yoko, you guys are going, and then on the Marine side, you've got let's see, we've got Wraith and Shotgun Kid. Okay, Wraith and Shotgun Kid versus Yoko, Hustle, and the third person whose name I don't see there. Okay, ready? So if you're not in the drill, you need to be a fly on the wall, so you're not a distraction. Okay, ready? Go. Okay, now go ahead and reset yourself.
We got a commander who's dropping med packs as well now.
Yeah, and you've got no what. Alright, so.
If you want, you can have a commander with med packs. But this is not about the how to play with med packs. This is about Marines just taking the fight and Skulks using the room properly. So we don't really care about whether or not, you know, in a real game you would have meds or anything like that. We're really just here to maximize, in a short period of time, an experience that might take many games for you to get, right? Because your goal here is to simulate something and practice it over and over and over again very quickly, so that you don't have to play 100 games in order to get this experience and learn, right?
Do you know how to use the console menu?
All right, so yeah, if you haven't heard it yet, you want to bind a respawn button. So you press the console button. It should work for everyone. Okay, guys, let's maximize the time here. Let's get more drills in. Let's not have a huge pause between them. When the drill's over, you go and start again, right? So those 3 people, you want to drill for like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, drill again. Okay, so go. 3 Skulks, 2 Marines. Okay, what was that?
Sorry, save fire.
Why?
I
Okay.
think that was me, because I always have bind P on reset. I think that's me.
Oof,
Oh my god.
nice blend.
Okay, let's not do that. Everybody, we're gonna set up multiple drills around the map, by the way. This isn't the only one, so we're gonna have groups in several different places, and once we have that set up, you're gonna drill for a while, and then you're gonna switch stations.
Rob, you should go away from the mute system.
Yeah, you guys can drill. If the people who already know how this works can go and drill each other if you want. Okay, so let's get the 3 Skulks back to Topo and 2 Marines to Topo, and then you guys can coordinate with each other, starting the drill.
Only fire's not off.
This is not off. Fuck.
No, it's not.
You know, friendly fire's okay. Just keep on if you want. It's up to you. Yeah, I don't mind either way. It doesn't matter to me. Wraith, can you turn it off?
I'm trying. I'm managing.
Okay, guys, we need. Let's go ahead and get the. Let's go ahead and get the drill started. Okay. Let's get 2 Marines. 2 Marines in Topo. Like, this shouldn't be difficult. 2 Marines in Topo coming into the room. 3 Skulks coming into the room. Get it set up. Get it started. Go. Let's go. Spylix, you're with Yoko Onos. Hustle. Go. Okay, Marines come into the room.
These are not the same people. People are just.
The thing is, there's a bunch of people on the server who's not on the Discord, so they don't know what's going on.
Are there?
Yeah, that can get confusing.
Yeah.
Oh
Maybe-
yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I set a password on the server. Should be baddies all understory bladders.
Ah, random people are attacking again.
We could kick
Why
them.
these people?
Maybe too many.
These people.
Didn't know this would happen. Usually it doesn't.
Like one group each, or like do we? Because it feels like random people are running in all the time. I guess it's me and Rafe. Let's do the topo thing again. If you come here, Rafe.
Oh, thought we were good now.
You probably want to password the server.
And let's start it like in 10 seconds. Like, can the Skulks in topo just go back to like your starting area, and like I can do like a countdown when we start it. Can somebody drop the extractor in topo then?
Here you go. Good enough.
Okay, topo group in 1, 2, 3.
On your stick. Let's go.
That's a lot more
Could you
Skulks
kick
than
this rookie? He just keeps shooting people.
Wait, the random 80 Nightmare, this isn't working.
Restart the topo.
We can't do
thing.
this, people just keep
let's stop.
coming.
Yeah, can I get rid of the randoms?
Maybe what we do is restart the server with baddies. But, I mean, it's not a problem if we have more people, if they listen and we set it up and then they do their thing for a little while.
They're new. They don't know what's going on. They're new to the game.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh my bad. It was me. I
Why?
didn't expect that to work. It was the
Hey,
command.
what do you mean? The game's going. Like, there's a game going.
Yeah, I just used the command. to
Oh
DK.
God!
I didn't expect it to work.
Did you turn off friendly fire?
No, I didn't manage to.
Okay.
Hey Ray,
Find the
like, I have
actual
like a
basement.
question. Like during this drill, like, wouldn't it like instead of like we standing here, would it be better if we push?
Okay,
the
so nobody's drilling. I can't get a single drill
Would
going.
it better like to meet the Skulks like in here or
Yeah,
something? Or
probably
do you think,
way
it's
better
too
to actually.
dangerous?
Yeah, these yellow pipes are actually preventing us from getting any actual accuracy on them. So I
Yeah.
should probably try and get closer to here.
Feels like there's so many walls here that's close by as well. Do we have any Skulks and topos ready to go? Are there any Skulks around topo?
Your base is under attack.
The,
So, Ray,
the,
if
the
you
Skulks
spawn
and
this
Tapo
Kraken-
are just killing the Crag and Tapo.
We don't.
Yeah,
need
this
Kraken.
is probably not gonna work if, yeah. But we'll
Oh,
see.
we don't need it. Okay.
We reset.
Okay, guys, so go ahead and just start fighting each other then. If you're not gonna.
Unfriendly target spotted.
We're doing it in there now.
Your base is under attack.
Wait.
Who's that guy? Oh, it's the
I have no
random.
idea.
It's the random.
Oh, this is fucking going.
Covering. Right on your I see you.
No, double scouts are all gone. And the last one left.
Your base is under attack.
It's not top, it's Topal Fate now. The password in the bad server, there we go. Yeah,
There already is a password. I already put a password on. But
can we
the
just restart then?
Your base is under
So
attack.
we get
I
all
mean,
the-
it wouldn't get rid of them. We can manually pick them, I guess, but
I think that's it's gonna be too evil.
Nightmare,
Yeah.
can I ask you to increase armor to armor 2? Armor 2. Just armor 2. Yes.
Let's go. Your base is under attack.
Are we supposed to play with only normal assault rifle, or are we like one shot gunner, or like is there anything special? Is there anything special?
Wait, nah, I'm getting metabolized, this is stupid.
Okay, so it's me and Ray versus one Fade then. Am I correct?
Yes, it's me.
Okay, so we count down to 3 and then we go. You okay with that, Fade?
But just look at
Is the Fade in the Discord call, or is he in?
Yes, I am.
Okay, but let's go on 3. Like, are you ready? 1,
Wait,
2,
alright, I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Just keep respawning and fighting.
Well, I failed.
how low are you?
Did we win that encounter?
Yeah, I guess technically. I misplayed that a bit.
I think when you're gonna drill with a fade, I think what you need to do is just keep killing each other over and over. Just like You can do the like a set piece, but the fastest way to get better is literally just fight the fade, and then he respawns in your face and he kills you, and then you fight him and you kill it. Like just constant respawns.
Like a.
Yeah, just constant respawn instantaneously. Just keep fighting. And so your goal is to learn how to deal with a fade that's better than what you're used to. So many times in a short period that you get better at fighting fades. That's the idea. So this is all about just practicing basic mechanics. You must have been really low. That's some weird movement.
Shotgun bullet at you.
I'm dodging. Well, I'm out of energy.
Instant respawn?
But so I have a question for the fade and Rafe when I'm doing this drill with at the moment. So what I'm doing right now is like I'm actually like walking into the fade with the shotgun. Like am I starting a bad habit now?
What was the question?
I think it's more like just supposed to just get used to the fade movement to hit them better.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about your practice of like how you get into a room and how you position. It's more about just
like
aim training and yeah, like how they move when in a fight. So in a normal game, you come across a fade and then you die and then you have to respawn and then run across the whole map and then you might die again, and you don't really get a lot of time per game to really figure it out.
Yeah.
This is how you figure it out.
Okay, yeah. When we've done this for a bit, I would love to try playing as the fade because I know I need to
Yeah, you can always switch. Whenever you want, you just switch to something else and someone else will fight you, you know?
Okay, so we're doing 2 fades now?
Doesn't matter, just fight.
Oh, let's do 2 shotguns or stupid.
Yeah.
Nice, I like the sit on the ground and kill me if you can strategy, hustle.
I don't know how I survived that energy. Wait, you just killed him! Okay, no, I don't think friendly fire is working out that well.
We can do like
Ray.
one-on-ones. We can do one-on-ones instead.
Okay, so you guys can start. You can go on for a little bit. And
You're getting better, Night Archer.
And then we switch.
You're like dodging in the middle of a fight's good.
So, Rafe and Spillex, you can go on for a little bit if you wish.
Can we have enough?
You okay? Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody else. Yeah, I'm gonna go one of you on back that so you can continue with the fit.
Yeah. Are you ready, Spillex?
Yeah.
Yes, let's go. Oh, the wrong button. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Oh, Night Archer. So we'll do this for a little while just so everybody gets a good feeling of what it feels like to drill and understand that you can, join and drill whenever you would like. The server will eventually set up to be 24/7. It is up right now and I'll keep it up, but I think I need to edit some of the ways the permissions work so that anyone can turn on cheats. Because you have to have cheats on in order to do this type of thing. And you can go to any. You'll also the instructions will be in the M menu. So I'll have it set to where you can basically click on a button and then get like a Google Doc that says here's the commands to put in and so on, and you can change it to whatever map you want, and it'll remind you of what commands you can use. And you could use more than just that. You can place structures and things like that with the command, but I'm just putting the basic ones that are needed for drilling and practicing. So, like I said, this is a really good...
You can keep talking like that. I don't want to interrupt. I will talk off you talk.
Okay, so this is a really important way to get a lot of experience in a short time. I know I mentioned it a few times, but this is actually really critical. If you know someone else who wants to get better at the game, and they need to work on a life form or something like that, this is the single fastest way to do it. And so having this resource available to you is kind of critical if you really want to get better at the game.
Okay.
So you've got two things now. Real quick, you got two things now. You've got, okay, I can grab a group of friends. I can grab 3-4 people, whatever, 2 people, and I can go and practice engagements specifically designed like a scenario. Oh, I'm going to take over Nano and you're going to defend it or whatever. You can practice that, but you can also just sit here and grind out, life form versus marine, different upgrades, whatever map, wherever you want to go.
Okay, so Spillax, so what I've noticed, I hit more shots if I wait for you to go for the head and then I shoot you, right?
Well, I mean...
Yes, that's what I do with a fade. Like, you time it so that when they're they're coming in for a swipe, you try to land that really hard shotgun shot.
You know what you're doing? I'm at 100 ping. You shoot me from behind all the time, so I'm just trying to dodge from I am assuming where you aim, so I have to dodge opposite of that. I don't actually see what you're aiming at, because every time you shoot me from behind, it's weird. So yeah.
Okay. So you're
But yeah, I'm a little bit behind, which is also why I'm missing so much.
Okay.
We can set up a training server on EU as well, by the way. We'll have EU training and NA training. Yeah.
So, Splash, would you mind keep doing this fight with me, but me playing the Fade?
Sure.
So I guess I have to press quit and go to ready room, I guess?
What? No, you can just type Fade in console. It immediately switches you.
Yeah, this is how you get better, though.
Okay. I'm coming to Topo.
Yeah, you could have just typed Fade. Fade.
Yeah, I will know it for next time, don't worry.
Feel free to use Carapace or Vamp. You can use whatever.
Which one would you have used in a normal game?
I
scenario
used
for going 1v1.
I always go Vamp.
Okay. So just tell me when you're ready and we can begin. Wait, I have to kill my person. I have to kill myself first.
Alright, go if you want.
Wait, I'm not respawning. Oh, I'm despawning. See, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go. So bad, man.
Huh? Let's go. I had no energy. I'm so bad at energy conserving part.
Oh.
I need to lower my sets.
It's a process to figure out what exactly feels perfect to you.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ah! I guess I need to go up and down more.
Yeah, your movements is a bit too straight.
Predictable, I know.
Yeah.
So I guess I need to go a bit more.
Yeah, something like that.
When you jump up, do you usually press the button to get down as well, or do you let the ball get you down? Or is it different every time?
Depends. Also, it depends of how much energy I have left and how many marines I'm fighting.
Oh, okay, of course.
If you go into 3 shotguns, I don't think I'm gonna stay in that room longer for maybe a second. Because
So it's
after
probably-
one
it's
hit
probably
a
a
good
swipe
shot,
and
the other 2 can just one-shot.
Yeah, in general. But
So it's one
Like-
swipe.
this is about you learning to dodge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just try it, we'll see. Although I might not be the best.
I have no stamina.
I can tell you're running out of energy. Try to, like, when you dodge, to use metabolize. Like, when you disengage and, like, try to evade me, that's when you metabolize. To regain some.
Yeah, because you're already not gonna swipe anyway. You're still trying to get away. Yeah.
Exactly. So while you dodge metab, so you don't run out of energy. Because a fade that's just crawling is very vulnerable.
I know.
Like, maybe you can kill me, but if another marine comes, you're probably dead.
I've died many times of that, even in the past few months.
Yeah, let's
Right,
go.
let's go.
It's a common mistake.
I did it. A single swipe.
We won.
Okay, so after a few more minutes of this, then we'll move on to some theory-based stuff, and we'll have a conversation about different things, answer questions. I just want to let this soak in for a little while, because the benefit you get from doing this is good enough to where it's worth dedicating a little bit of time to it.
Let's go.
I've asked it a few times in the chat already, but how do you actually bind your respawn to a key?
And here's a chat. Here's a button in console.
Nice.
You were right now. You were flying way too, like you were saying, way too close to me.
Yeah, I need
You
to like
need to
do
open
the
that, man.
spacing. I do need to like get out of range. So
It's
So
like
what
exactly like bait my shot somewhere. Like you went like this. Like you
Yeah.
still stood in front of me.
I took the full hit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, got it.
Ah.
Like you don't want to take full shotgun hits.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Like I know the point, but I know what I want. What I want to accomplish, right? I
Yep.
don't know how.
That's why you're
How
doing
to
this.
act to
That's
a-
exactly why we're doing this.
You might figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
Like what seems like the best way to. Must say I tend to get better at Marine the longer I play.
Yeah, like in a single session, you mean?
My aim takes way too long for Marine to come online.
Yeah, I have that problem too sometimes. It's getting better a lot in the past few months. For me, it's like shorter time for the muscle memory to come back.
Yeah, wait.
I'm having issues with my alien muscle memory lately, actually.
I feel terrible because it honestly feels like I'm cursed. I always land the 3 hits or 4 hits, and I always miss the last one to finish the Marine off. Every single time. It happens so often.
You should
Just
try
like
focus
maybe-
then for a little while. You should try focus because it only takes 3 hits to kill.
Then I would hit 2 and miss the third one.
You don't know that. You're consistently hitting 3.
They are at a higher rate of fire. Focus decreases that rate of fire.
Yeah, but then
So
you
it
by
might-
learning to practice like timing that hit, you'll increase your accuracy anyway.
It's not the aim that's off. I suck at sticking to arenas.
Yeah, but like you'll learn to like space out the hits a little bit more and time them with like your movement more.
Yeah. Alright, let's go.
There's 3 fades in here. 3 fades. They're all over the place.
Dude, their pings are so crazy.
Oh my god.
This is like the ultimate target practice, dude.
Like, I felt like that was on you and not me.
Yeah,
I feel
like,
that was on
you
you.
gave me the opportunity, I just didn't take it. And you need to be patient with the shotgun.
You have a little bit of room for error where you can take some of the shots that are less than ideal just to get that extra damage, but you'll have to learn over time when to do that.
Something that's kind of funny is like my win rate on my read is around like 67 and on Aiden it's like below 40.
I mean,
So
I mean, Marines didn't get buff time. So.
Yeah, we got a buff. There's a big bit of buff lately.
HMGs are terrifying.
Yeah, but you know what? Just found out last night that HMG damage for Bone Shield. Bone Shield's being counted as a structure.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why even at weapon 3, a full HMG like barely.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you have 3 Onoses, a bunch of HMGs with jetpacks. Can't even break the Bone Shield on them.
So you want the GI rocket launcher then? Yes, I mean.
That's so broken. They need to like cut that out and like update it now. Like, what are they waiting for? Fix that.
Wait, I'll try an HMG.
It shouldn't be structure damage. It's way too broken that way. That would mean that nobody can use HMGs anymore. We just have to all run shotguns.
Or XO.
Yeah, or XO. Right, there's a fellow Israeli in here with you.
I can't really wait to burn out the mag. I guess like I can shotgun or the assault rifle. So I wonder how the playstyle changes this thing.
Well, with the shotgun though, like every time you go away, I can like reload 1 bullet, like pew pew. Like I mean, I could try a rifle. I'll probably not go with a rifle.
Rifle is so hard against like a decent fade sometimes. Like if you're not in the perfect zone.
How do I give myself like upgrades like celerity and shit?
You gotta go to the. You have to go to the. Like set up a hive and
so
do it the same way you would.
Why did you just like crawler fade there?
I thought.
Go get a new hive. Like you can just give yourself your team
All I
res.
did was dodging like the first magazine.
Yeah.
And then I committed all my energy, so I just went for the all in, which I shouldn't have done.
You don't want to hold the blink. You want to like
tap
not
it.
longer for like a second.
Yeah,
You
you're just
keep
tap,
holding the burn
tap,
for the energy.
tap.
Yeah.
The only time you hold it a little bit is when you're like absolutely just need to get a little bit more distance. But even then, if you're moving, so as a fade, you want to keep jumping constantly.
Exactly.
Okay. Even in battle.
Yeah. So yeah, let me
Look how fast you are just by like jumping.
Okay, I gotta know what we can do now. We can do a little bit of fade discussion.
Yay.
Okay, guys, let's go to like cargo or Y junction's fine. Okay, so you may want to go to spectate for this because we're gonna start talking a little bit about how fade works. And I will give some examples, and others who have experience can chime in what they do and so on. But if you go to spectate and you first person spectate me, and then we get maybe a couple volunteer Marines in Y Junction. This is really just about kind of talking a little bit about movement and stuff that some people may already know, but this is going to be really good for others, and maybe a good reminder for those who already know. So let's just get some more people. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go into spectate and first person spectate me. Okay, so we have a couple Marines. Alright, so basically one of the things I wanted to talk about was your speed. So in console, I think you can turn on debug speed. That. Okay, and this will show you your velocity as a Marine or as an alien, regardless of what life form you are, etc. And hopefully it can show you what my speed is when you're speccing me. If not, I'm sorry. Okay.
It does.
It does. Okay, so what we're going to talk about here is what are the button presses and how do you move as a fade so that you have basically full energy all the time but are moving at maximum speed, etc. So first thing to note is when you blink, you do not blink like this. That does not work, okay? Because your maximum speed, if you notice when I'm doing that full blink, the maximum speed, I'll go down this hallway right here, watch this. So the maximum speed is about 15, 16, touches 17. Now watch what happens when I just tap the right click button. And watch my energy. Right, so about the same speed, but using almost no energy, comparatively. And over time, I can get back to full energy.
Yeah, just watch, hold it. Actually true. watching Holy was very nice.
Right.
It's Jesus' work.
Okay, so what we want to talk about is how do you achieve that speed for the players that don't know this or newer, want to learn Fade, etc. So the way that you achieve this is first spacebar. So I'm constantly pressing spacebar. If I wasn't blinking at all and I wasn't metabolizing or anything, this is what you would see. That's me. Okay, now let's add a little bit of blink to that. Now notice, I'm not using metabolize at all. And look at my energy. And look at my speed, watch. So just by tapping the blink, you have enough energy to continually move around the map, even without metabolize. So you'll notice in some games that there's like players, like tier 5 players, I won't name any names or whatever, but they'll refuse to go Fade because, oh, they don't have metabolize, or oh, they don't have upgrades. In reality, without upgrades and without metabolize, you can still be useful, especially in the hive. Like, even if you're floating around near the hive, you can kill some marines that come in to kill upgrades, you can do other things, right? And even without metabolize, you can pretty much move at around near top speed without going low on energy. Okay, now if I add metabolize in there, I can blink a little bit more often. And if I really need to be aggressive, I can get somewhere much faster that way. Okay, so yeah.
Let's say you're doing all of that and you see a marine and you're...
Okay, watch. I'm gonna see a marine. You ready? Here comes a marine. Right? You can metabolize and fight at the same time. It's possible. You just have to learn how to time it. That's something kind of just experience.
Not important to note if you crouch.
Yep, that's what I was about to say.
Your walking speed is slower than a marine's walking speed, so they will like just outrun you. So just be careful when you're holding down.
Yeah, so holding crouch. So for me as a Fade, I always hold crouch even when I'm blinking. Now you look and see that blinking itself crouches you. So like, you know, there's like a little lip here. You'll fit in the lip. Also, if you're blinking, there's certain vents that you can get into, not that one. So what I do is, in general, all I'm doing is I'm holding control. For me, the control is crouch.
But if you crouch, you blink like your POV changes, so that's something.
Oh, well, I have on max POVs. Or what do you mean? Or max field
like
view.
it puts it down. Like
Yeah, but you get, I don't even notice it. So I hold crouch the whole time, and that means that like in these little areas here, I'm less likely to get caught up on something like that, because it's like as I'm holding crouch, I can just get over obstacles. You know, you can figure out where you get stuck, but basically that right there. Like here's an example of something I might do. I'm like running from a marine, and then maybe there's one at topo, and I go like this, and I go over this little box here. And the reason I do that is because when I get to the other side, it's blocked from here. So if I don't want to get shot going down this hallway, I may come over here and be like, okay, and you can't do that without crouching. If I'm not holding crouch, okay, but at the moment I hold crouch, look at that. So one of the things I would like to point out is that when you're going into a room or out of a room, when you're really, like when I'm on my game and I'm not flashing or whatever, this is something that is kind of always in my mind. I want to use the geometry of the room to block the visibility and the bullet trajectory. So I assume that basically if a marine can see me, there's a possibility I can take damage. And so what I do is I'll use the room to block their ability to see me. So give an example. I'm going around these corners here. I'm hugging the corners tightly, right? And I'm doing a number that involves moving like along the edge of the room or hugging things that will be a barrier so that if someone does see me, a smaller percentage of the bullets hit me. Because even if one marine can't kill you, the fact is that if there's like 4 or 5, you're going to end up in a situation where lots of bullets are going to be landing. But if you get into a habit of doing something like hugging the geometry of the room, and then there's an opportunity for someone to get around you and try to hit you, a lot less of the marines that are in that room are going to be able to execute that at the same time. So, case in point, in this room, you have a couple options in system. You can fly up through the air like this, and sometimes, especially for newer Marines, vertical really hurts them. Or if it's a really experienced Marine, you go really low and then you switch to vertical very quickly, that can hurt them. But in general, if there's lots of Marines in here, it's actually better to try to use the geometry of the room and use these objects right here to block the visibility. Right? So like as you're going through the room, the Marines, even if they see a portion of your body, they will not be able to land as many shots, even if they can hit you. There's other maps where there's better examples of this, but Nano's another place where you might come in and you can hug the geometry of the room. You can come up here. Right, like there's a lot of ways in which you can use all of these static objects that block bullets. Those are your shields. Right, so in this room I might come over here and I might dance around with the Marine for a little bit, come over to this corner, come out this way, and it really fucks with them. Okay, so geometry matters. And we can look at other examples on other maps too. But so that's one of the things to remember as a fade. I'm holding crouch. I'm hitting spacebar constantly. I switch up some metabolites in between there. And I'm focusing on not using too much energy. So you don't ever really want to be in this zone right here with your energy, because at some point you'll end up in a position where you're just like standing still, and you lose all your momentum and you just can't move. So like if I run out of energy, and then let's say I hit a wall or something. Now, like, there are times where I'll literally, even if I have a little bit of energy coming in, I won't be able to move. So you always want to have a little bit of gas in the tank, so that worst case scenario, you can get around a corner and then let your energy come back a little bit. Right? And the higher your energy is, the better, so the less you blink, the better. And then when you're in a fight, there's something to keep in mind. Like, so if you're 1v1ing a Marine, I'll go to Nano real quick. Skreek, hold on. Let me just try this. So if I'm 1v1ing a Marine, I want to make sure that during the fight, I understand, you'll get a sense of this after a lot of experience, but I understand how much energy I have left over for the fight. And if I get to a point of where I'm swiping too much, or I'm using too much energy blinking around, I need to make a decision to leave the room then and there. And make sure that as I'm leaving the room, I'm aware of the geometry of the room. Right, and so there's some concepts there that need to be like at the forefront of your mind when you're trying to focus on winning engagements as a fade. But the biggest thing I wanted to impress on you is the fact that the movement itself is all about not touching the ground and using as little energy as possible throughout the course of your movement.
No, nice.
Wow, what is it done?
They're both ganking.
So that's pretty much, the way that I see it is you have to use the geometry of the room to your advantage. I like to hug corners. I like to, use my ears to make sure that I know where there might be Marines. And I like to, mix in metabolize as often as possible, even at times during combat. And maintaining your maximum speed as a fade should be your objective. So you're basically, it's like you're surfing. You know what I mean? Like unless you're doing an ambush where you're like, there's a Marine there, you're sitting around the corner, you're just going to pick him off, he doesn't have a weapon that can kill you, or whoever, who it is, or whatever. Like, unless you're doing something like that, really your goal as a fade is to keep moving. You're like just a floating life form that's just trying not to touch the ground as much as possible. And you're floating around the map, and your goal is to deny Marines. You might make progress by killing them at certain RTs, which opens up the ability to bite those RTs, or killing them at their natural, or even in their base. But your goal is to float around the map, use as little energy as possible, and choose to leave the fight when it makes sense to, and avoid, use the map geometry. Like I said, there's other maps like maybe Refinery or Summit, or there's other maps where you have much better examples, docking, of like how to use the geometry in the room. But even on this map, there's examples of like where you could use this. So like if a Marine is, you're at, let's say you have 30 health, 50 health, and a Marine is, shoot me a little bit, give me to 50. I'll give you the example. Okay, so I got 100 health, that's fine. So now I know the Marine is a pretty good Marine, he's gonna see me, so he's gonna try to kill me, so what I wanna do is I wanna come up here, and then, you see that? So like, what I wanna do is block his, I don't wanna come around this corner like this, and try to run this way, because that's a straight line and I'm dead. You wanna avoid straight lines. Okay, so what I do is I'll come over here, use the geometry, and then diagonally cross, and he can only get a couple shots on me, right? So you got to come up with creative ways yourself of using these principles of not traveling in a straight line, blocking the bullets, using, you know, you'll get a sense of timing. You'll start to understand things like, you know, when is he going to reload? Because he's been shooting at me and I've been dodging. Maybe I've been like keeping my distance since I know the rifle has diminished accuracy at range, and I'm using the geometry to avoid him. And then once I think he's ready to reload, I can get over here, and maybe he just finished reload. So then I try to cross, and then I look. My first thought is I get into this room and I look, is there someone here? Because they could be crawling through this vent and I could be dead. So I take a quick peek at that, and then I go around like this. And I think, okay, is there a person here? So again, I'm using the walls just like I would in a box. The walls are my geometry that blocks bullets, right? So even if it's like I'm using this little box to block bullets, I also think about the fact that maybe someone's coming from dome, they're going to pinch me, and if I time it just right, then, you know, I might be able to get across. And I also may use, oh yeah, this is another one that I use. So these little pipes around the map, you can use them to block bullets. And check this out, you can come up in here and do like this, right? And you can go in, like, especially when you're coming from dome, if they're going to shoot you on the way down, what you do is I travel over here, and then I cross diagonally. I do not go straight down the hallway. I either make book it for this and get up here quickly, or, you know, depending on how much health I have and stuff, I'll oftentimes, especially when there's Marines with a gate and dome, I will literally just use this to get up and down the hallway. Because they can't shoot you when they can't see you, because there's a wall there. And your thought should be, how do you, even if you say, well, there's no Marines there, make it a practice to use the walls and the geometry. Because what happens is, you'll be really good at using it. Okay, so you'll be really, when you do need to use it, you'll just instantly be able to use it like this. You know, I don't even have to think about it. But the other thing is, what you're trying to avoid is possibility, right? So think of like every unknown as a probability. Maybe it's a low probability that they'd be there. But if it takes no extra effort to do this, then why would I ever leave the possibility of someone putting 50, 100, 200 damage on me down a long hallway? Even if I have full health. Even if I think it's probably safe. In a lot of instances, I will just use the geometry anyway, because I don't even want to allow for the possibility. I don't even want them to be potentially capable of it, right? So again, little geometry like this. You can, you know, there's a box here for a reason, right? The person who made the map thought of that box as some type of geometry to diversify the gameplay, you know, the fighting, and give the aliens or Marines an ability to dodge for a moment. And so you can always take these alternate paths, you know, and I'll hug these walls, and it cuts off all the angles. You have to think of every bullet stream from a Marine as a specific straight line, and that when you take more diagonal angles around some of these, like if I go like this, if I take this way, right, these things are blocking off, they're cutting off an angle of the shot. So when you're not thinking about those things, you'll make a lot of mistakes, and you'll end up getting killed around corners that, you know, because you were taking full damage all the way. But if you're taking a small amount of chip damage, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing to just get around these little boxes instead of going in a straight line. So, you know, and the other thing to keep in mind is atypical movement. So when you're playing against a Marine, predictable movement that is not random in nature is going to be easier to fight. So if I'm fighting a Marine, I'm going to try to do things to mix up the way that I do the fight. So there are certain strategies that I do where I'll do like a thing where I go through them like that, and that can be very effective if you can execute it every single time. But you can also become predictable. Huh?
Did you just blink through the Marine?
Yeah, watch. Let's get a Marine. Okay, why is there a command chair here that's blocking a lot? Okay, let's go to C12 over here, please, by the power node. I just want to show like some of the different fighting strategies that I've learned. Okay, can I get a volunteer over to C12? Or... Okay. Alright, so here's a couple ways I'll take a fight. Yeah, we could do it here, but... Okay, so... There's the one where you go up. And you may not want to go up and down over and over, because then they start looking vertically, and then they respond to it. So you might do like this. You might do something like swipe through them and then go up. Now I'm making the mistake of having no energy there, but you get the idea. So like, now I'm assuming it's a one-on-one there. I know there's two people, but I'm acting like it's a one-on-one to show you what a one-on-one would look like. So you have to pay attention to your maximum speed, okay? Because what you're going to notice is that, or what your actual speed is, because with certain movements you can lose all your velocity, and that changes how easy it is to kill you. So you want to time that with things like them reloading, and you can't assume, like, certain players will reload potentially faster than you think they will because most players don't know how to reload quickly, or they'll maybe only put one shell in their shotgun and then you get hit in a way that you weren't expecting. But for the most part, so there's a couple different strategies. I need to be able to show this. So let me just show this real quick. So when you go through a fight, you can take a fight and hit them and then go back and then hit them again, right? Like you can go back and forth. But if you do the same exact fighting strategy over and over, you're gonna find that you actually have you become predictable, and by the end of a round, a certain Marine, like maybe one of their top Marines, will be able to counter it. Like eventually, even if they don't get you the first few times, if you keep doing the same thing. So it's really important to mix it up. Another thing is, so there is something called boxer fading, where you get down on the ground and you fight them. There are several disadvantages to this, but if you bait out all of their shots first, and you're not low enough to die to a pistol, you could then just box them on the ground, right? So that is something that you'll want to figure out with the, it's something that you sense over time, not something that's really easy to explain. Because there are times where just walking by them, you're just instantly dead. But then there are other times where you just know, like, they've already wasted their rifle clip or whatever, and that's it. Now all I do is I'll strafe around them. I'll go, like, step side to side around them in a circle. So they're the center of the circle and I'm going around the edges of the circle. And that can work relatively well. You might do that for a couple hits and then blink away again. There's all kinds of strategies that you can come up with, but essentially my one recommendation is have at least a handful of ones that you get comfortable with, and then switch them up kind of randomly, so that the way that you take engagements is not predictable at all. And one other thing to talk about with the fade is that when you're prowling the map, like if you're roaming and you're basically playing this sort of like free roaming stalking style, you can oftentimes find Marines that are on their own and even get 1 or 2 hits off on them before they realize that you're hitting them. And this is a really good way to use your fade. If there are groups of Marines holding a specific area on the map and you're not absolutely necessary to making progress in that area, you can roam the rest of the map and focus on just picking off Marines here and there and getting their spawn queue higher. And you can either eventually discourage them from going to that area, or you can get in a situation where you're just constantly denying them and it contributes to the spawn queue, or they lose shotguns here and there, or eventually, you push them back just a little bit, inches at a time throughout the game, until eventually like a Skulk comes and kills C12, for example, and then all they have left is Topo. So you have to think about the Fade as somebody who can be opportunistic and can go around the map hunting individual Marines that have decided that they're going to run off on their own and may not be aware of your presence, right? Like, you might realize that no one else is on this map and on this side of the map, so you run over here really quickly and find that there's 1 or 2 Marines by themselves and you pick them off. What you don't want to do is commit to fights that will end up in a disadvantage to you.
Let's go to Overlook, that seems rather empty.
Okay, yeah, let's cover that. So there are times where you're taking a fight at a disadvantage, and you have to learn to calculate when it's an advantage and when it's not. The more you can take fights that you feel are an advantage to you, and less forced engagements in areas that are disadvantageous, the better off it'll be. So this becomes it becomes a lot more difficult. It becomes a lot more difficult to do in a It becomes a lot more difficult to do in a game that has like really high tier players, because obviously they're going to be a lot better at like moving around the map quickly.
Stat?
they're gonna move around quickly, and they're also gonna be times where you go somewhere you think that they should not be, and there's like 2 or 3 of them there, and then they just power you down very quickly. So you have to consider, you know, the skill level of your opponents and the situation and what phase of the game you're in and what upgrades they have and you have and which RTs. You have to do all of that strategic calculation when deciding what is the most effective thing to do, where to go. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the main thing is that as a fade, be random in your movement, cut off the angles, you know, use the geometry of the room to block shots or visibility, the line of sight to you. When you're taking fights, know when to leave. Like right now, I'd leave. In a normal fight, I'd be like, okay, I'm out, done. Because, right, so like, you have to leave. If you find that you're dying a lot, start leaving 30 to 50% sooner than you think you should. Okay, so these are all just kind of general basic logic things, but this is, you know, when I really need to succeed as a fade, I will use all of this stuff at the same time, and I will just somehow be moving around the map. Like, I'll see, oh, there's no one at C12, and everybody's like pushing for system and top nano. So I'll start roaming around C12 and pick off a Marine, and then over the next 3 to 5 minutes, I'm picking off individual Marines in random places. I might go up to skylights because they have gates, and I know I have an exit where I don't have to worry about them killing me. So I'll go up there and I pick off someone that's recapping. Oh, one final concept. There's so when you have a fade defending skulks and lurks as they bite res, this can be one of the most powerful things you can do, regardless of the skill level of the game. If you can find a way to use the Fade as a higher life form and their excellent ability to kill Marines, if you can use that to guarantee that resource towers go down when they otherwise wouldn't have, you're exponentially, you know, more likely to win if you do that regularly. So you can't do it in every single situation, every game, but there are times where as a Fade, you grab another player and you say, okay, let's go to Overlook. And you go to Overlook together, and then you kill the 1 or 2 Marines that would have stopped them from killing the RT, and then they get the RT down. And if you travel around like that, there are games where you win just because of that playstyle. And then there are other games where you win where the only thing you're doing is you're creating noise. Like let's say they have a system gate and the Marines are all in there. You come through and you use the right angle, and you have 2 or 3 aliens doing this at the right time. You know, use the geometry of the room, get in and out, get a couple swipes here or there. Don't stick around and try to box someone in the middle of a room full of Marines. That type of complication makes it exponentially more difficult for the Marines to stabilize, because eventually they will lose the gate. If there's enough pressure like that, your goal at some point should be to learn how to depending on the skill level, learn how to go through a room full of Marines taking little to no damage at all. And if you can add getting a couple hits here or there and not losing your energy, then that's good. But the main thing is that as you're able to go through these rooms with lots of Marines, there are games where the only way you're going to win it is if you're able to go in and out of that room with 5 tier 6s with shotguns and not die. And do that consistently over and over. And, you know, so that's something you'll have to learn based on situational stuff. But I think that's probably all I have for the brain dump. For Fred.
No shells. Shells suck.
Shells don't suck.
There we go, Rob.
Now after biomass level 5.
I know. But they still don't suck, like, in certain situations.
Let's see, shade or shift?
Shift shade.
Shift shade, okay.
That would be cool to see if the meta shifted over to shift shade.
I mean, with the skull, with the leap nerfs.
It would just be cool. You know, something different. So shoot, do you want to anything you want to say about Fade? Because I know
like
there's a lot to talk about.
Very viable until like if no one's res biting, dude, you're fucking Fade.
When I go Fade though, I'll go Skulk and res bite the shit out of it until Fade res, and then hopefully.
There's 2 ways to win a game on Aliens: either you frag out hard or you kill res nodes. That's it. So that's why Lurk right now is so popular, because they can frag out and they can kill res nodes. Fades can until they get the stab up, but nobody researches it. So.
Sometimes if you have enough fades, that covers the frag out. Like if you get like 3-4 fades, it gets insane.
Like, they're just gigantic skulks. They're easy to shoot. Fades right now. I mean, yeah, you use celerity. Like, they are actually hard to hit. But
Yeah.
But Carapace after biomass 5 now, they have over 500 HP. They're really hard to kill. So but you can push them out constantly. Like you don't have to kill the fade, push them out. You know, do like 200.
You just have to do enough damage to push them off and get them to go back to heal.
But I don't.
They nerfed the shit out of their movement, and then this patch they buffed the energy, so that blink takes less energy.
I think that fades need one more buff for them to be extremely viable, and that is, and this is what I want, is when structures have no armor, fades do full swipe damage.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. And if you don't know this, guys, when there's armor on the structure, the fade does less damage to it, and then when there's no armor on it, it does more. But it does not do the amount that's equal.
Everybody deal less damage to a structure?
Well,
I
don't know.
Fades do piercing damage to any structure, so even if it has no armor, you still do 37 damage to swipe.
Okay.
Right, but when it has armor, I think you do less, unless they've changed
I
that.
want with Fade, hopefully they do it in the next patch, is that when it has no armor, you do full swipe damage.
Yeah, because then, you know, like, at least if you come across one that's lit, you could get it down a little bit faster.
Yeah, but is it a Fade more designed as a pickle straggling in Marines type of alien as opposed to a...
It is, but the problem with Fade, after all the nerfs that they've done, the problem with Fade now is that it's a little bit less effective at killing. So if they made it slightly better at structure damage, like once you get, what is it, stab, then you can attack. Yeah, you can attack structures.
Stab is biomass 7 though.
Right, exactly. So it's so late in the game.
Bio 7 isn't that hard to get to, and it makes the Fade with stab insanely strong. To the point where they're actually better than Lurks because they can kill an armor 3 Marine with 4 hits instead of 5. You know, be alert.
Yeah, that's true.
And on top of that, you can
kill phase gates.
Structures.
Yeah.
So fucking fast, man. I wouldn't use it on Marines unless like you're trolling, but
yeah, only
stab is insane.
That is the slow wind-up attack that deals.
Yep, it does a shit ton of damage to structures. A shit ton. It does like 200. I think I hit or something like that, or 180. I don't know.
I don't think I ever got there.
They buffed it. They must have buffed it a little bit recently, though.
I'm pretty new to the game, so I've played it. I've played some here and there.
So what you guys are gonna be doing if you play Fade most of the time is that you're gonna be fragging out, and you have to frag out. Like I'm talking like every minute you have to get at least a kill, 1 kill like every minute to frag out. Your goal's probably 3 a minute, but you need at least a minute. Like if you're not killing 1 Marine a minute, then spawn queue isn't getting filled up at all.
Yeah.
And this isn't a 10v10, so like you have to frag out. If you can't frag out, I recommend playing Lurk and biting res in the backline. They're better at it.
What would you advise as a person like me who's kind of just completely new to the game, as a both from the aliens and the Marines perspective? What would you suggest that new players do first?
To
get more of an idea of how the game works before you start with the really high level strategy.
Okay.
And
so if you're new to this game, like you have to learn the game. I don't think that like jumping into a life form expecting to do well on it off the get-go is gonna work.
No.
Oh, I don't expect to do well.
No, like one of the biggest things you can do if you can't get kills, really, is just go bite res. Work on getting past them and surviving just long enough to get to their res.
I can tell you this right now. Even if you're playing Skulk all game and like you're gonna like go on us or whatever, Skulks are insane. Nobody uses Parasite ever, and it's like it's a built-in wall hack. Nobody uses it.
I kind of like just skulking around in the vents.
Oh yeah, Skulk is really fun, dude.
But this game is an RTS game, so you have to think in terms of expansion and territory control and territory denial. So if you're killing structures, which I know is boring to a lot of you guys if you don't like doing it.
I love doing it because I know that it's slowing down their upgrades. It's getting rid of some of their potential P-res, so they have less weapons later.
You've never been in the commentary before and you can't hold more than 3 RTs.
It's so annoying. Yeah, you know at that point you're probably going to lose.
Is that with a single scope, it feels like it takes 12 years to clear one fucking tower.
Yeah, but here's what you want to think about, okay? The fact is that when you're biting res, they're going to have to go back and recapture it or defend it, right? And so if you do successfully kill the RT, not only do they lose team resources, but they have to play the resources to replace it, and they lose player resources. But even if you don't account that at all, the Marines have to deal with it. So they have to move back to that section of the map. Well, but it pulls them off the front lines. So if there's enough res biting, though, the Marines will stop attacking so aggressively for the most part, and they'll start to be spread around the map, and it gets really chaotic. What's really the best situation for Marines is that no back res is getting bit. They're on 4 to 5 RTs. They've got 2 good gates. Like, let's say on this map they have system and nano gates, and then they have, you know...
About this map.
This isn't the greatest example, but...
Can I get the server key? Because...
Oh, it's baddies. B-A-D-D-I-E-S. All lowercase.
Yeah, that might be useful, because otherwise...
Yeah, well, I didn't know you weren't here, but... So the main thing that I want to say is that when they have those gates and they're holding all that res and they don't need to do anything to defend behind them or to react to anything, all they have to do is tunnel vision and focus on denying your resources, so they'll try to get you down to 2 RTs, you know, or even less.
Force them to not only focus on the front line, but on the back line. And
yeah, because you're going to pull people away. People that would otherwise be attacking you would be going back and trying to defend res or recapture res. And if you do it at a high enough rate, then what's going to happen is they're going to be much thinner at the gate, and then your team can push the gate. Yeah, and so if you don't know what to do as a life form or any of that, the best thing you can do is literally just go as a Skulk and fuck off and do nothing related to killing Marines and just go kill their res all game.
Just bite res.
Yeah, by doing that, you'll instantly win more games.
You know, I did a stream of that one day. I stayed Skulk all game and just parasited Marines and bit nose. I never killed a single Marine in the fight. They died of parasites though. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I won almost every game that I did by just doing that.
But what Shu said about the mix between, there's 2 different ways to win. You can either focus really hard on killing their resources or really get the kills. And you know, you have to be aware of the fact that there are games where you might have to do both simultaneously, like get key kills in certain places, but in reality it really does come down to that. As an individual player, either you as an individual will do a shit ton of res damage and that'll be the reason you won, or you as an individual will get a lot of kills. And with Lurk, sometimes you'll do both, obviously, but...
Yeah, okay, but... Now, what I tend to do as aliens at the moment is indeed try and bite some res, because I've talked to some other people on their server that was like, so what should I be doing as a new player? Just go around bite shit. Always be biting shit.
It makes a difference, because it takes a lot of skill to get good at combat, especially against higher level Marines.
Yeah, I really noticed that. Like, I think I have to drop on them, and they make 2 jumps, and I'm just like,
well,
where the fuck did they go?
We should talk about, okay, come to Spectate real quick. Let me just go to Skulk. And I've got a video on this, but I want to...
Where can I go to the Spectate?
Your Spectate is F7?
Oh.
Okay, so look, let's just say I'm a Skulk right now. Turn this on in console, type this.
Hold on, type this.
Debug speed.
Oh, in console, I assume that's this button.
Yeah, you open the game console and then type that.
I just typed in debug speed, but I don't think it did anything. And I assume it's the tilde button, right?
Yeah, debug speed is one word.
Yeah, debug speed.
And then it should show a red bar at the bottom left.
Oh yeah, I see a red bar.
Okay, so spectate me. Now look, here's the thing. What you need to know is how to get to maximum speed as a Skulk. So if you feel like the only way you can kill them is dropping on them, that's true. It's very powerful to do ambushing. But you also need to be able to like move around quickly in certain engagements when there's a lot of, you know, like maybe you don't have the luxury of getting an ambush every single time you find a Marine.
No, of course, but...
Right, so the way that I do this is I'm holding control, which is my crouch button. Okay, so if I just do nothing, okay, I'm holding W now. And I'm pressing spacebar. You see that?
Yeah.
Now look at my speed.
Hold on.
You see it?
No, I just see current speed 0, vertical speed 0.
Oh, okay. Well, just watch it then. Look. Okay, so I'm pressing spacebar, holding W. Okay, now I'm gonna hold control because what I want is if I touch this wall, I want to drop to the ground, right? So I don't wanna stick to the walls, okay? Because that's gonna slow me down. So if I'm jumping and then I do this, I'm slow down. Okay, so now I hold control and now I'm doing the same thing. I'm jumping and holding W. So holding control, pressing spacebar, and holding W.
And W. Yeah.
Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold A, the A button.
Ah, yeah.
And I'm,
so you, of course.
A. All you do is you hold crouch.
Some basic trigonometry, because you go one speed forward, one speed to the side, so you're effectively at what is the square root of 2 or something?
Yeah, it's like the diagonal movement.
Yeah, that's like crouch fighters.
So the other thing is by touching the wall, you can jump off the wall. As long as you're holding crouch, you can jump off the wall. Now listen to the sound that my Skulk makes.
Yeah, you can hear him.
That means you're hitting max speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I did try the You've got some weird sort of racing.
Yeah.
Challenge. Yeah.
That's very. Yeah, that's the challenge. Okay, so. Yeah, so I just wanted you to know about the speed thing, because all you do is you hold A or D, W, control, and keep pressing spacebar. So I'm holding W and A, holding control, and pressing spacebar, and now I'm going max speed, just moving my mouse a little bit just to jump off the walls. Easy peasy. So this will be useful to go from 0 to like full speed very quickly if you need to get somewhere or get behind them and bite res, or if you need to jump into a room while there's a bunch of other people fighting them, and you come in really hot and just kick. You know, some Marines die because you go faster. Other Marines are too good for that, and you have to use, you know, smarter plays like ambushing and you know, always try to get parasites because that really makes a huge difference. But yeah.
I read somewhere that like parasite and then you can bite them twice instead of you need to like bite them 4 times. Right?
Yeah, when it's at armor 0, so at the beginning of the game before armor 1, a parasite is just enough damage, 10 damage is just enough to put them below the 3 bite threshold, and then it becomes 2 bites to kill them. So at the very beginning, parasites become extremely powerful for that reason. But in general, parasites are undervalued by most players, and really you should be running around as a Skulk constantly. Anytime there's a Marine, or even oftentimes a structure, you can parasite RTs, which will show up on the map for everyone. So if I parasite this, now all the aliens know about it. And
I've played enough RTS games to know the importance of vision.
Yeah, but like RTs, phase gates, armories, you know, those things can be really nice to see on the map.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to hear that like the shit other people told me on other servers is kind of the same. So it's kind of nice to hear that there's like consensus.
Yeah, well, it's the standard meta, I think. Okay, so can you do some Lurk training or no?
Nah.
What, can you talk about it?
There's too much to go into.
I know, but like just some principles and things for people who are interested in trying to improve their alien.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one actually.
If you can't land bites, spike them. Like I don't know what to tell you.
No, I agree.
You can still buy res if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's a lot to go into with Lurk.
Despite your Skulks, easy.
Lurk is the hardest life form in the game. It's
Yeah, I know. I've also been kind of intimidated by it, so I've really been avoiding it.
There's too much. You have to keep track of like weapon levels, armor levels, especially armor levels as Lurk, because your bites don't do as much damage.
Yeah, once they get armor 3, it's terrible.
The bite of the Lurk always seems to do some kind of
after effect. Yeah.
Acid damage. Is that real or is it just a
poison,
visual?
Just poison damage.
Yeah.
So it like you can't die to the poison. It just lowers your health over time.
Oh yeah, it has like a threshold of what, 1 HP or something like that.
Yeah, like you'll never die to poison. You'll die to the bite. So.
Yeah, okay, but.
So, general rule of thumb, armor 0 is 3 bites with a Lurk, armor 1 is 4 bites, armor 2 is 4 bites, armor 3 is 5 bites. Now, if you mix in spiking with armor 1, they can go down to 3 bites. After you spike twice.
Wait, are you sure that armor 1's 4 bites? Because I'm
positive. 4 bites.
Really? I've been getting 3 bite kills all day, though, yesterday too, when Nano and I were talking about it.
That's the only reason. They are 4 bytes at armor 1. They are 4 bytes at armor 2.
Okay, okay, I didn't realize that. I thought there were 3 bytes armor 1.
You have to spike them twice.
Or bite him, wait a second, you're a little while, and then
You
bite him.
spike them twice, or like basically like 1 hit, you know, with the spikes, and there'll be 3 bytes on armor 1.
If you bite him once and the poison does a
If
little bit
they're
damage
spiked
over a while.
twice with armor 1, they're 3 bytes.
So knowing that their armor level, you can pretty much tell that by how much damage it takes to kill them, and it changes a lot of the dynamic of, like, if you go into a room with 4 Marines on armor 1, it's very different than you go into a room with 4 Marines on armor 3, obviously, like because it takes 5 bytes to kill each one at armor 3 versus the 4.
But if you can't land bites, so I don't know, I would say like you need to have at least 60% bite accuracy to be viable as a biting lurk. Like bare minimum 60%.
Otherwise, you just gotta play a more ranged, pokey.
Yeah, you have to play like a chip lurk. You have to chip them.
Yeah.
And that's always
it's less effective. It could work, but it's less effective.
Because either you're flapping in one place, or you're straight flapping, or you're on the ground or something, and you can get laser beams.
And what does the because I know it's some kind of buff for your friends. The
Bruh, it was
the
damage
cloud.
reduction.
No, it's damage reduction. All right.
Yeah, Umbra, basically the idea is that it, like, some of the bullets like go into the cloud and they just miss their target because they get deviated.
Yeah, okay.
And Umbra is never researched. it's one of the strongest upgrades in the game.
I actually research it all the time.
A couple days ago I was playing and like people were complaining the Lurk's not using it, so.
It's kind of annoying that they changed it to 30 when no one was using it anyway, so it's like, you know.
I think it's more for like Thunderdome.
I tested, by the way, Umbra
really
does not
strong.
work on the new Bone Shield.
Yeah, the new Bone Shield's broken too.
Shu, did you see that that if you have an HMG, it's reduced damage to the Bone Shield because of the structure bullshit?
I was playing Thunderdome yesterday, and we couldn't kill a Bone Shielding Onos.
Yeah,
I think I can explain why that is.
I put 100 rounds into a
because it's structure damage. Because they made it have structure, like it's a structure as opposed to a life.
If it's actually a structure, then you should try shooting against a Bone Shield Onos with a GL. Then the GL should do over 300 damage per shot.
Yeah, but no one's gonna buy a grenade launcher when an Onos is like.
No, I don't think it's a structure.
Well, Rantology said yesterday it was structure damage.
It's being treated as a structure, according to Rant.
I never tested this, so I would like to test this, but I think it's
test
just
it right now.
All I know is that
the base
I have it on
damage of
stream
code.
from last night is that I had a jetpack HMG with weapons 3 against a Bone Shielded Onos, and I didn't break the shield.
Dude, I had the same problem. When they get in pubs, when they get 3 to 4 Onos, so all the aliens have to do is stay alive until they have 4 Onos right now, because 4 Onos with Bone Shield, no matter how many HMGs you have, it's gonna be almost impossible to kill them if there's other stuff. If they keep switching places and then there's like other life forms coming in and out.
It's a bug. It's doing like no damage right now.
Hustle Bones, can you do Bone Shield for me?
Yeah, use it and then get an HMG. It does like no damage.
How much damage did the GL shot do?
I'm at 640 out of 1,000.
Okay, so it's not structure damage. It basically uses the base code damage without any damage type multipliers applied. Meaning right now it is the worst for every weapon, the worst interpretation for every weapon that exists in the game.
Why couldn't they just make it the same as? Why couldn't they just make it the same as the fucking player health? You know, like, oh well, while you do it, you have a boost of health until they break it.
I
Because
think
if you're on a
it
hive
was.
and if the Krag is healing off of your EHP, it's gonna do that number, and you're gonna be healed like a shit ton.
Oh yeah.
It's more as a bug right now, and I guess this will get fixed.
That makes sense though, because it's about a percentage when the Krag is healing you.
It also kind of sounds like an oversight, to be honest.
Yeah, that was not intended that way. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for my alien hive
Yeah,
skill.
you get one Onos up now in Thunderdome, you can't win. Because you can't kill him. Impossible. With 5 Marines in the field, it's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Okay, so
He's got arcs. That didn't help.
so Methleys, do you have anything Lurk wise that could be helpful for newer players? I know you played a shit ton of Lurk.
Yes, I personally think the best one of the most important things is knowing when to get in, how to get out. But that depends on how confident you are with your spikes and bites and movement, so there's no universal rule, I'd say.
Okay, so what about movement? Like, do you use low sensitivity, high sensitivity?
I am a weird exception, and I would not use myself as a basis because I use mouse acceleration.
Okay.
Oh, no.
That would be actually kind of interesting for Lurk, because it would be like sporadically, like random how it accelerates.
I've used an external mouse acceleration software for that, where I can set the mouse acceleration values exactly how I want them to be.
Okay, well, but in general, that means that your camera movement is going to be somewhat faster than your Marine, equal to your Marine, or lower than your Marine?
I usually play more equal to the Marine, so more low sense, and have... I'm more the low sense Lurk, personally. I see both working, it's just when you're low sense...
Okay, so how do you deal with when they're shooting at you, since you have a small amount of health, right, compared to like a Fade or an Onos, obviously, right? So of the higher life forms, the Lurk is the smallest health pool. They're not the largest target, but they're still not very beefy. So I guess the question is, when you're leaving a room or when you're in combat, how do you avoid being shot? What are the techniques that you use?
I mean, my first technique is going in a way that I can start biting before even shot, meaning ambushing. Second, it depends on the room. Like, if I have to get out and multiple people are shooting at me, or even one, going up, down, potentially left, right, or in circular movement is good, but even better is try to get as much stuff in the way between you and the Marine as possible, and find the next best entrance that is not easily killable. For example, if you want to go through a vent, and the Marine knows that you want to go through that vent, then he just has to aim at the vent exit, and you get probably like 103 damage in.
Yeah, because I mean, you go into the vent, there's no real ducking and weaving anymore.
Right, and also he has one single target, a small bottleneck, and all he has to do is put damage right into that target.
So yeah, using your vertical movement and horizontal movement, yeah, your agility to your advantage helps. Try to get as much cover, beams, pillars, pipes, friends, whatever, between you and the Marine. And
so what you're saying is do some invasive maneuvers and try to break line of sight.
Yes.
I would say that the hardest Lurks for me to kill are ones whose movement is extremely random, sporadic, and has a wide enough range of movement that it, like when you go to aim at them and they're like up, down, left, right, and then they're like, their movement is so unpredictable that tracking it is very difficult. That's I think what the goal is, that you want to, if you have to get out, that.
Yeah, you just want to make it hard to shoot at you, of course.
Yeah, but like the way you avoid the hit reg in the game and people's ability to track you is by extremely sporadic and random movement that can't be traced very easily.
If you want to do them, like what I heard most people who do them, the secret behind this, they don't know themselves how they move. They're just wildly flailing the mouse around, hoping it doesn't fall off the desk.
Jesus, take the wheel!
Yeah, that's one reason why I've started using... I'm not like the best Lurk, but I've had some decent games here and there, and it's like the high sensitivity allows me to move my mouse very little and get a lot of mobility out of the Lurk itself.
Yeah.
So
it makes it hard to hit spikes on range, though. Like,
well, I hold my wrist tighter then. Also, you could literally just do a throttle. Like, some mice have the ability to hold down a button and your sensitivity is different when you're holding the button. Or vice versa, it's lower, you know, it's like a lower sensitivity when you're holding the button. So if you want to spike, you hold that button and now you're shooting like a Marine. I mean, anything is possible, man. We're, you know, this is an Xbox. Well, it's not a console where you're like stuck with whatever the console gives you. You have like gaming mice and keyboards and stuff.
Are you saying mouse and keyboard are superior?
Are you telling me you're not playing with a controller?
I'm playing with a Wii U. I'm on a Wii U right now.
Look, I'm just here running around with my Kinect, okay?
I'm just running around in my living room.
USB steering wheel?
Yeah, that's how I gorge. I just honk the horn whenever I need to heal. Okay, so does anyone have any more questions or ideas or thoughts about lurks that they would like to have answered for them, or anything that they're curious about?
Nah, completely lurks.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
how do you get good? How do you get good?
M, press M and click MOTD.
No, there is one problem I always have with Lurk is that I can go up to somebody and they're right in front of me, literally right in front of me, and the bites just do not land. But obviously not everybody has that problem. So is there a way that you need to engage a Marine with a Lurk?
You can swoop in really quietly behind them and just start lawn mowing their ass and then they turn around and they're out, and you'll have to deal with their initial dodge. But you might only have 1 or 2 bites left once you've done that, usually.
Actually, now it's harder.
Right? Yeah, I do that. I do that. But what I'm saying, like I specifically, you know, like if they're looking at me and I'm looking at them, and their bullets are landing, but my bites are not landing, and we're right next to each other.
Well, I noticed we were just fighting in Nanogrid a little while earlier with your Lurk, and you were doing this like weird kind of like swooping motion, but you were like at the distance between me and you was slightly further away than where your bite would land, and so I was just moving my mouse back and forth and dodging side to side and just spraying you in the face, and I think like it might just be that you need to go through them.
What do you mean through them?
Like when you go in for a bite, like you're like going right through that.
Just fly into the enemy, you're saying?
Not necessarily. No, I don't want to give you the wrong idea because this is gonna get a lot of people killed here. But what I mean is that like you weren't close enough to do damage to me, so I suspect that maybe you're not really getting on top of that bite.
That's weird. Because I mean, like a lot of the times when that happens, like right on my, I mean, it's right in front of me. The Marine is right in front of me. I can see them. I know that they're right in front of me.
Okay. So maybe it's a hit reg issue then. I mean, that's the only other explanation I would have.
The Skulk bite is longer than the Lurk bite. You have to be closer with Lurk.
So go Marine right now and see. Where are you? Baddies. BADDIES.
I'm in Topo.
Topo? Okay, let me get regen. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's stand still, and I'm gonna stand on the ground and just. Okay, I'm gonna move slowly. So that's about the range. I think you were that close, but it's hard to tell because to me when I fight Lurks normally it feels like they're closer to me than what you were doing. Okay, so let me go Marine now, and you go Lurk. Okay, so what was happening is you were like swinging back and forth in front of me, but it felt like you were slightly further away than normal, and it made it easier to shoot you, and it also meant that I wasn't getting bit. And it wasn't always, but it was a portion of the time. Okay, so I'm in Topo now. Okay, get on the floor, just sit on the, do what I did, get on the floor, and then just inch forward and bite and see where the range is. Okay?
Yeah, man. That's really far away compared to where I normally am. Where I normally am is a lot closer, and I don't get bites.
Make sure you're getting it on the hitbox. Yeah, you get to stream it or record it would be good.
And if you're biting them and just blood's coming out, but it's not registering, that's a no-rig problem. But if
there's nothing you can really do about that.
No bite sound, nothing, then you're just missing.
Yeah, no regs are not easily controllable by the user or the server operator. It's just a thing.
But I have a feeling that when people say that, like, I'm biting, but like nothing's happening.
It's probably no reg.
And you're playing every other thing fine, like you're like a Marines, like you're hardly getting any like no regs on Skulk, it's fine, but just on like one life form, it's probably because you're missing.
Yeah, I've noticed with the Lurk, there's like a very specific bite cone. There's like a very specific area that you have to land, and so when I have like this sort of feeling in my head when I'm lurking that I sort of zero in on what I expect the location for the bite is. I think everybody does this to some degree, but like I can feel, the more I play it, the more I can feel where that sweet spot is. And And I think it's a very, you know when you're on and you know where you're off, and you might be feeling like you're on when you're not. I don't know. But that's why I was saying maybe you should drill me real quick and just try to kill me a few times again and see if you still feel that way now. I'm at East Junction.
Over that way.
Just drill it out for a couple seconds here, maybe a minute or two.
You know, I'm pretty sure that if aliens on pubs went 1 Gorge and 8 Lurks,
You'd win every time.
they would win every game. Just in the first, like, right after they popped the 4-minute mark, the game would be over.
We should try that, dude. We should start getting people to do that.
Like it would,
Did you feel like you were getting bites on me there? Because I was literally just dodging.
Yeah, I didn't have any weird issues there. I mean, I missed a couple, but I missed.
You knew you were missing. So I think Shu's right though. If you're not getting no regs on other life forms, then it has to be specific to your. You know, I mean, if it's only happening on Lurk, it's not likely to be a netcode server-side, client-side relationship issue. Rather,
yeah. No, it's not only on Lurk. I mean, it happens on all my aliens except for maybe Onos.
probably don't do enough goring as an Onos to really know.
It's not all the time. It's just there's certain times where. Like, there's no question that I'm right on top of the guy.
Are you getting hit sounds? Do you have your hit sounds turned on?
Yeah, I have hit sounds on.
And do you get hit sounds when that happens?
No.
Then that must be that it's not getting the confirmation from the register, registering it.
Yeah,
you need to, either way, I recommend you go to a wired LAN connection as opposed to a wireless LAN connection.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Because that could, help with how many UDP packets you lose and things like that if you're using, wireless and you're
just
losing
a more
packets.
stable connection.
Yeah, it's going to be lower latency, it's going to be more stable, and you're going to lose less packets if you're losing any at all.
Oh man, if Happy can play at 800 ping and he can land bytes.
Yeah, but I don't know, you see with Happy, you don't know if he's landing all of his bytes or getting no regs or whatever because he never complains about it. I think he assumes anything that happens is just because he has shit internet.
I don't know, dude. He has like higher. He has like one of the highest
600 ping.
Just look at his accuracy in the game, dude.
Wonder if he's lagging so much that all those the no reg bytes don't even count. I doubt that, but
I mean, I died a room away from him one time, dude. It pissed me off. A room away.
I didn't want to ban him though, because sometimes he has 100 ping.
And I was taking damage before he was on my screen, and I was like, "What the fuck is hitting me?" And then he's behind me, and he's flying away, and I'm dead. I'm like, "Okay." He went through a vent, bit me before he appeared on my screen.
So, anything else, Hustle, about the aliens? I mean, about Lurks?
Is it worth lighting a power point? What it called?
Power nodes? Yeah.
The power nodes, yeah.
Yeah, what about it?
Is it ever worth biting those? Because it takes quite a while, and
it can be, but if it comes down to it, if there's an RT you could be biting instead, it's more important to bite the RT, 1000%. But there are times, like for example, let's say it's this map, and you've killed Overlook and Skylights, and the Marines have Dome and Nanogrid, and you just happen to be like near Skylights or whatever. If you could kill the power there, I mean, it could be a waste of time, but it could also just be something that slows down their ability to replace an RT. It's situational.
The amount of time I'm investing in taking it out seems rather...
You rarely do it.
Compared to the amount of time the Marines need to repair it.
Right, it doesn't cost them anything to repair it, and so the best that it gets is that sometimes it will deny... Yeah, some time, but you're not... If you can kill an RT, you're denying time as well in a different way. You are slowing down the team res, you're slowing down the player res, you're going to cost more res to replace it. So it's way more of a benefit for you to kill the next RT as opposed to killing a power node.
That is my entire point. Is it a worthy investment of my time to buy the power?
Only when there's nothing else to do most of the time, or when you have to kill the power in their main, or maybe in the case of Nano, and you don't have time to kill an RT, and it may be possible to kill the power, and then therefore they lose the 2 RTs and the armory that's in there or whatever. I mean, it's very situational, and I wouldn't recommend putting it as a priority. I would say for now, don't bite the power node, and then later on, when you learn when it's okay to do it, when it's not, then you'll know. You know, you'll just learn because you'll have a better sense of the game in general.
Yeah, I tend to just bite the power node when I see other people biting the power node. I'm like, oh, well, we're doing this now.
Yeah, typically that's only important when it comes to like a base rush or maybe like in the case of like you really have a lot of map control. So I want to get system waypointing down because I know they could just come down here and get a gate really fast, and maybe we don't have the ability, or I don't trust my team's ability to get back to system and, you know, prevent them from getting another gate. So if I bite this power, it's going to take them a significant amount of effort in a situation where there's like lurks and fades and skulks and gorges, and you know what I mean. Like if it's just skulks and there's a marine having to build the power, it's really not that big a deal. If there's like only a couple skulks, or maybe there's 2-3 marines in there, they get the power up really fast and it doesn't really matter. But in a situation where you also have life forms like running around the map, and it becomes almost impossible to fight the life forms and build anything, you can make it a little bit harder. Huh? Yeah, you can make it harder for them to take over system that way, for example.
And another question is, I've been taking the camouflage upgrade a bit. In some
Don't do it.
games.
Never use it, ever, for any reason.
That was my question, because like...
They'll see you anyway. Did you notice they see you?
What? No, dude, it's one shot. It's one shot.
You know where you can do it? You can use it on... I'll give you permission. Explicit permission to use that upgrade in the Noob Haven server.
Maybe a pistol?
You can use it in the Noob Haven server.
You can use camouflage, but you have to ambush like normal. You can't just stand out in the open.
Yeah, no, I tried to use camouflage to sit in a vent and then just parasite folks as they come by, but even before I...
Well, once they know you're in the vent, you're already dead, whether you have camouflage or not.
You can play whatever you want if you just want to keep practicing this for a bit.
The camo is really only useful for the first 4 minutes of the game, and after that, you just switch to aura.
Yeah, okay.
Also, I would say it's almost only useful in lower tier play too. Like if you're playing with all tier 1, 2, and 3, you could probably get away with it under certain circumstances, but
Aorus is so nice because
wall hacks is way more important.
No one uses Parasite, so having Aura just ensures that you won't get sneaky gated.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And it also, like, when you're low, you know which way to not go because you can see the marine hiding in the vents.
And you can focus on taking the engagement better if you know where the marines are configured in the room that you're about to go into.
Nightmare, have you tried Thunderdome yet? Because aura's changed on it.
I know, I haven't tried it since the change.
Totally different.
I will.
It's like a different visual.
It's a different model, and it doesn't show how much damage they have. I'm talking explicitly about the Legacy Aura, not Thunderdome Aura at the moment. I'm just saying, like, in general, the Aura is way more powerful than... Like, any benefit camouflage could give you, a good ambushing position could also give you, or being sneaky and walking up behind them.
You get into the room instead. I think that's like more realistic.
Wait, what?
Like if you spawn here when you die, it's more like a more realistic.
I can't. It change every time I die. It changes of point.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Yeah, let's go.
But yeah, no. What I understand is just don't.
Yeah, don't use camouflage.
I thought it could be used to like sneak past some...
No, you can easily get to tier 7, well not easily, but you could get to tier 7 or tier 6 or tier 5 or whatever where you're going to get to. You can get there without camouflage, without ever thinking about it.
Yeah, alright.
It's more important to have better movement, be smarter about ambushes, and focus on when to fight and when to go hit res. Those things are way more important than, you know. And Aura will let you bite res, will let you take fights, will let you die less often.
Oh, no, I got it.
Yeah. Wall hacks is way better than the off chance that maybe a noob won't see you, because everyone else will see you. I always think it's funny when I'm running around as a marine, I'm like, oh, there's a Skulk just sitting there with Aura, and he doesn't know that I can see him, and I see that shimmer and just brrr, dead.
Yeah.
And that new player, I can feel that they're just sitting there thinking, man, I don't, he could see me.
I thought it was invisible.
Yeah, he could see me, I don't understand.
Nice, that was good, man. That was insane, actually. That was some good dodging.
I do like focus too.
Yeah, no, it's good to know. That is not as great as I had perhaps hoped it would have been.
Yeah, in NS1 it was better, but honestly, I don't mind that it's not that great here. I mean, I guess they should improve it.
You
But...
actually have a slight advantage. You have weapons 3 and armor 3. We're still on 2 highs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm still missing a bit.
Yeah, Nephiles, I find that it's very easy to kill jetpacks with it.
Oh,
but I mean, you don't have a jetpack, so...
Because sometimes one swipe would kill where you would have had to do 2, and you may not have that opportunity going to a room full of jetpackers. Okay, so so we've covered camouflage, we've covered lurks.
200.
Wait,
We've covered how to drill and the drill server.
Damn.
What? Bam.
Shoo, I'm gonna make the drill server permanent, and I'm gonna put like an instruction on how to turn on cheats and all that for people. But it should be that any person can come in here, turn on cheats, change the level, do whatever they want.
Is the shotgun what you just noticed there? You were getting used to my dodging, and then I just boxed you. And suddenly you like you were like you tried to flick, but I didn't move away. So like
yeah, real mind games. You're in my head. Rent free, bro.
There is a combat mod which I think is probably good enough for arena type stuff. Okay, so what else do you guys know how to do? Do you know the principles behind marine movement and dodging?
No, that was bad.
Do you guys want to explore how to dodge and move around as a marine and all that?
When the Skulk jumps in the opposite direction.
Okay, so go marine and let's go to nano.
Yeah, I'm going nano.
Alright, let's go.
So we're going to talk about now is just some of the basic principles of like movement and the use of geometry of the room and reload mechanics and all that stuff. Oh, sorry. Just that's a habit. Okay, so go if you want, you can code marine and practice this stuff, or if not, that's fine. But so one thing to note, when you walk backwards, okay, you never want to do this. Never just hold W. So if I just stand still holding W, you don't want to use that. Because this is, if you have debug speed on, you'll see that you go at about 2.08, 2.09 maximum speed. Yeah. Very slow. When you're walking forward, you're at 5.21, so literally it's about, 40% the movement speed backwards. Okay, so one thing to notice is that if you jump, look at how far you can go. Right? Now, what if you jump and you're holding A or D? Right? Jump and holding A or D. Then turn your camera left or right when you're doing this, right? Okay, now, let's say your goal, you're facing this way. You're facing this way, and your goal is to go backwards like this. What if instead of walking backwards, we turned and we jumped? We turned, so what I'm doing is I'm turning my camera, I'm holding D and jumping and then looking and turning my camera back forward, okay? So I turn sideways, start strafing, and then jump and look back forward. Right?
Doing a key press or a hold?
I'm holding the strafe button, so I turn my camera 90 degrees to the side, I strafe in that direction, as soon as I start strafing, I jump, and then I turn my camera 90 degrees back to the original direction I was looking. So turn, jump, strafe, forward. It's really easy. You just turn, hold your strafe button, jump, and look forward again. So you're holding D. If you turn to the right, you're holding D. Press spacebar, look back forward. That's it. Spacebar once, look back forward. So what is this? How does this work? Well, you could move from this side of the room all the way to that side of the room using these jump strafes. Ready? Look at me. Right? And I could do it smoother, but basically the idea is that if I want to back up and I think the Skulk is about to come at me through that door and I need to get distance. I don't want to be right in the threshold of the doorways so that they go straight around the corner and start biting me immediately, right? I don't want that. What I want is for the distance between me and the Skulk to give me the advantage because I have the guns. But maybe I was just killing something and I was peeking around that corner, now I gotta reload. Right? So like here I am, I'm out here, like I chased a Skulk and I'm like, killed one. Oh, there's another one coming, I'm reloading. No problem, I can back up without having to keep my back to the door. I don't have to turn and start running and then have them bite me in the back. So I use this a lot, and you can also use this type of movement, guess what? In the middle of a fight with a Skulk. Because just like dodging as a Skulk or a Lurk involves random movements or being unpredictable and changing, you know, your hitbox to a different location to make it difficult for them to adapt, as a Marine, your ability to jump around in a sideways direction or jump and then crouch or position your camera a certain way, all of those things can give you an advantage in different fights. There are obviously going to be a lot of situations where there's nothing you can do and you're just going to get melted. But then there are other situations where you easily would have survived if you had the ability to dodge properly. So what I do is I side strafe. Sometimes I'll side strafe and then jump and then crouch and force. What that does is they'll be like jumping or moving to try to adapt to my movement, and then me crouching puts it so that like they're biting my little hitbox is like right in my camera. You know, so like sometimes I'll jump and then I'll move like that, like where basically come at me and try to kill me. Right, so like I try to jump in like maybe an opposite direction of what their trajectory is, and then turn my camera to face them, close my hitbox to a smaller, you know, so there's like different strategies you can come up with specifically to deal with the different types of movements. And you'll notice the different players make certain movements, or they're doing certain ambush strategies or whatever. You'll start to read what other people do, and then you can react to that accordingly. So
I do have a question, like according
bite
to
me.
this, jump strafe you say, right?
Yeah.
So for example, at this range, I understand doing a jump strafe, right?
Yeah, but come up on me. Jump in my face.
But if we're this close, do you still...
Yeah, look at that. Try to bite me.
Yeah.
Try.
I see, yeah.
You see that? Now all of a sudden you're over there and I'm over here and you're dead.
I would actually disagree with what you say, Nightmare, but I'm not sure if you want.
Well, I'm not saying use that every single time. I'm saying that this is one of the like probably 4 or 5 different techniques or movements you can use to try to not be bit. I use it on a semi-regular basis against people and it works.
Yes, I'm just saying if you play against if you play
high
against
tier.
if you play against high tier T7 people, this move might actually put you more at a disadvantage than an advantage, because
yeah, but if you get really good at it, there are times where you will kill tier 7s with it too, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just jumping also, you have to keep in mind that jumping will lower your own accuracy and aim as well, and if you do not dodge any bites against high skill players who basically know that move, and you just screw up your own aim, it will put you more at a disadvantage.
yeah, I would just say practice, because like I've gotten to the point of where when I'm jumping around and dodging in a fight, I literally move my mouse according to where the enemy is, regardless of my positioning, and I just adapt, and it's fine.
Oh yeah, it is really dependent.
It is more
on
difficult, yeah.
And how the enemy moves and where it is positioned.
Right, and that's what I wanted to say, is that you'll notice that certain dodging techniques will work against certain people and certain levels, and others will not, and you just have to have a bag of tricks, basically. One of the best things you can do is obviously get the damage in first and be accurate. What?
I don't think he's talking to us.
Okay, he's speaking Swedish. Yeah, he's Swedish. Okay, so you know that you don't exclusively rely on that, but that's one little trick that you could use. Like I said, one of the best things you can do, obviously, is choose your engagements when you come into the room, or your positioning. When you come into the room, you want to have an advantageous position, which means distance between you and them. Remember we talked about on aliens cutting off the vectors, like getting behind the structures and geometry of the room? The same is true for Marines. When it comes to lurk spiking, you want to avoid spiking by using walls and things like that, but still have an angle where you can shoot them. And then the second piece of it is that you need to think about what the aliens might use as the geometry of the room. Right, like you want to, how are they going to use that to get around me or to avoid being shot, and then try to position yourself in a way that they can't really do that. I like Nano as a good example because you can jump on the things that are in here. So a lot of times a Skulk might come down over here, for example. They might be like trying to play with this little stairway to get around you. Well, not a big deal. You can literally jump on this railing and get right over it if you needed to, or you could, you know, dodge around using the geometry of the room to gain a little bit of vertical access, right? What I mean is you can jump off of railings, you can jump off of stairs. You can jump off of boxes. All of those things should be incorporated into how you think about navigating the map in different rooms and different situations. Right? Obviously, the newest of new players will just stand there and walk backwards and just get annihilated. But then, like, a little bit later up, when they start getting up to, like, tier 4 or 5, they might, like, you know, jump and dodge a little bit or whatever, but you can still get them because they don't have great accuracy. But then as you start to get to a higher level, people start jumping around on top of boxes and using different like, sneaky ways of getting up into weird areas. And I would say that I've used jumping on these boxes and in system as well. Like, if I go through system and I run through, a lot of times, you know, when I'm running through the map or I'm using the boxes in the room, I'm definitely taking advantage of these items. The geometry of the room is what you want to use to your advantage.
Yeah, but in essence, what I'm hearing is stay mobile and try to just keep as much distance between you and your target.
Yeah, and when you go into a room, peek your corners, always look up. You know, like, do a check of, because it's pretty common, even when you think they're not going to be there, they're going to be there.
By the way,
yeah,
the backwards jump that Nightmare was talking about earlier is also great to bait doorways.
Yeah, because if you go up to a doorway, they hear you clapping your little feet, right? Especially if they don't have aura, but sometimes even if they have it, they'll jump in on you. So if you get up to this doorway and you're like, you know, I'm peeking the doorway, and then that beats them to come out, what I can do is I can walk up to the door where they can't see me, and then I can strafe jump away, and now they come around the edge because they think I'm right there, and then they're dead. Or even after they see me, I can get some more distance. Now they commit to coming around the corner, and they can't turn around. And so it is definitely possible to trick out their senses, because they're going to be listening for footsteps and waiting for the ambush. You can make it seem like you're about to enter the room or right around the corner, and then immediately, very quickly, be farther away. You need about 3 meters between you and the Skulks to have the best chance, in my opinion, with a rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. If you're parasited, you know you're parasited, which is nice. So any questions about any marine stuff that you think you want to work on or are interested in learning more?
I think marines are far more straightforward than...
What makes marines more difficult is where do you go and when? Like, do you know, and can you get good enough to push like one of their naturals and actually kill it? Like, you know, so you're not just dying when you push to kill a resource tower. I would say that the rotations are also very difficult for people that don't have experience with this type of game.
Yeah.
Like, where do you rotate and when? Like, how do you... You know, there's no getting around that you have to get better at shooting. And that's what drilling is for, and that's what combat is for, and that's what lots and lots of play is for. However you get there, you need to get good at shooting. And that's a muscle memory thing, and the more you do it, the better you get, and that goes a long way. But aside from being able... The stuff we're going to say now, like I'm going to say now, is more about execution. Or not about the execution of like being able to survive and do this. It's about the concept of what you need to do. So what you need to do as a Marine is not sit back and just let them get resource towers. I mean, if there's no one lane blocking and you're going to lose all their res, you need a lane block. Okay, you have to be able to not lose everything. But the general rule for Marines is that they need to be putting pressure on consistently, and they need to make sure that they're absolutely going to kill the resource towers as much as possible. Like, it really, just like on the alien side, resources are everything. Kill the Marine resource towers, you slow them down and fuck them up. Killing alien resource towers does a couple things. If it's the right resource tower, let's give an example of like Tram. Okay, you go to Platform and Tram. Okay, Platform, when they start north side, gives them access to the entire other side of the map. They have to assist through Platform, or if they go through Hub, they're probably not going to be able to assist through it. So they have to go through Platform. So
yeah, which makes it an easy point to cut off.
Well, it's difficult to cut off if they put a Gorge there and they actually defend it. So if they Gorge wall it and you don't have grenades and then they defend it, if you can break through the Gorge wall and kill it anyway, that's great. But if you don't go to Platform and you let them sit on it, that gives them Platform and then the other Hive and then the other RT past the Hive. That's 3 more RTs. So by going to this one location, you can deny 3 Hives if you go up there and kill the syschain, control the area, kill the RT. Now they're stuck on 1 to 2 RTs, and their other RT, if they start server, mezzanine is terrible. It's really easy to get to, it's out in the open, and it's easy to kill. And or, it's not too terrible, but it is definitely harder to just go and hold only or and never have platform. You basically are going to lose the game at that point. So platform is everything on Tram for Marines when the aliens start north side. And in every map, there are places where you can go, like let's say caged. If you can hit maybe purification or shipping tunnels, you're going to have the ability to cut off a certain area of the map. Which means that it's more valuable and the aliens should take it more seriously and they should be defending it better. But sometimes they don't and you win just because they don't. Other times you have to work together or maybe fall back on trying to get somewhere else. But what you should not do is just assume that, well, that's theirs and we can't get there anyway. You really need to put in an effort to deny resources. And if the Marine team can consistently pressure resources and not stop, it pretty much guarantees the win in many situations. Like your win percentage goes up dramatically.
But isn't that also for aliens? Like, just kind of, if you don't play the economic game, you're just gonna get outskilled.
But aliens can also, both sides can do massive kills. They can just get monster frags and force the spawn queue to go up, and they can do that, and it will. You can either kill resources or life forms. The problem with aliens is that the snowball effect sometimes is just so fucking shitty. Right? Between the Onos, like you have like 3-4 Onoses, multiple fades, lurks. Now it's like, even if you have an HMG or shotgun, even if you have jetpacks, it's like, it feels impossible. And for the aliens, to a certain extent, it's the same, you know, if they have all these jetpacks and you're just skulks and you don't have any life forms.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's really, for Marines, the biggest thing that I see is that people do not pressure res, and when they do, it's terrible. And I guess it's fucking true for both sides. And when you don't do it, it's bad. But it is true that for Marines, you really need to keep them on their back foot. For either team, your goal is to get them to the position where they're defensive, and they're constantly trying to replace their RTs. And if you get them so distracted and there's too much chaos, see, people have a hard time processing when it gets more complicated. Right? It's really simple for them. If they sit on 3, 4, 5 RTs, all they got to do is get their life forms. And then next thing you know, they're completely fine. You know, like they have the life forms, they can hold the RTs, they can expand the pressure. Hold on, my audio.
Is it Nightmare or me fucking up in Discord right now?
Yeah, I'm also getting... It's also cutting away from me.
Can you hear me or what?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I stopped talking because my audio went out. My audio. Anyway, so I can hear you, but the game audio is off. And the bug, it doesn't fix it. Okay, so in any case, we're not worried about that. So if you think about in Marine situations where when they're not pressuring the resources, it becomes very simple for a team. They might have, like, you can think about the resource towers as being sometimes the edge resource towers or the resource towers that are closer and more vulnerable versus the core resource towers, like in their hive or maybe a natural that is well defended. Those ones, the Marine may never be able to get into that core resource tower, but maybe he can hit the natural. Maybe if it's docking, maybe he can hit maintenance, and maybe he can hit E-swing, but maybe he will never get to stability if the aliens are playing it a certain way. In those situations, it's very simple for the aliens. You have 1 or 2 guys that are core, like they're holding the core, and then you have a couple guys biting res, and then all you have to do is just defend the naturals on the resource towers on the edge. That's easy. Aliens don't have to think about much. They don't have to work hard to coordinate to counter anything you're doing, and they're just in a position where they can sit on 4 or 5 RTs and tech up. That's what you do not want as the Marine. You do not want a situation where they've got the life forms to defend it. You don't feel like you can kill anything. Everything's really far away, and the only thing you can do is maybe kill their edge RTs, which they could probably just replace in a little bit anyway. Instead, from the beginning, what you want to do is you want to make it very complicated. You want to make it so that they don't have enough resources to get life forms as quickly, which will make it much harder to get to that stability. Right? There's like a stable state and there's a chaos state. The stable state is when the team really doesn't have much to focus on other than pressuring the other team and just winning some fights. And the longer the game goes on in that stable state, the better it gets for them in most cases because they get more upgrades compared to the enemy. Right? So if you're stable, You're going to out-tech them, and then eventually it's going to be even easier to beat them, and then next thing you know, you don't have to worry about anything, you just end the game. The problem is when it becomes chaos. The chaos state is when you can't really have a consistent economic flow, and they're consistently denying your resources, and they're, constantly pressuring your core RTs, and you can't seem to get them off of it. Even when you get the kill or whatever, next thing you know, someone else is there, and you have to deal with it all over again. So you want as much as possible for you to be in the stable state, and for them to be in the chaos state. And the way you get there is by killing their resources. And the more aggressively you do that, the more likely it is that they'll be in chaos and you'll be in stable. And chaos has a compounded effect on the minds of the people that are trying to address the situation, because they have to analyze what is the best move here. And there's so many different things happening. They're under attack over here. They have to do stuff to get stable. They have to go and defend the core RT, make sure that stays up, or get an edge RT and make sure that doesn't go down and start changing where they're expanding, or and then there's someone else coming in and they're killing upgrades, and then there's someone else over here killing the core RT again, and then it's like this constant thing where your mind is completely on how do I defend against all this bullshit that's happening, and it's less on how can I get behind them and pressure them. So when you keep it simple for the other team, it gets even better for them because they don't have to focus on anything other than pressure. The equivalent of that for the Marines would be they're sitting on 5 RTs, they've got 2 phase gates, neither of the gates are really under any threat at any time. If it does get bit, it's like one guy at a time by himself, or if there's a back node, like a back res RT going down, it's like one guy with Skulk just biting it or whatever. So they never lose gates, they never really lose RTs, and what they can do, if it's like Tram or something like that, they'll hit Mezzanine, they'll hit Ore, and they'll hit Platform, and they might even hit all 3 at the same time. Now the aliens, if they don't defend those, they lose the game because they need RTs, right? And you could counter and trade everything, but you can't really coordinate that easily in chaos a lot of times, right? You can't. It's hard sometimes to get your whole team to say, no, we're abandoning everything, we're going to hit that. And even if we trade everything, it might be possible that we trade all of our RTs for half of their RTs in one phase gate, and they're still ahead, and they can restabilize, and then you're still stuck. Like, your life forms are delayed, your upgrades are delayed, and you can't get back to stability. And next thing you know, they have better weapons than your upgrades and your life forms. So then it's even worse. So this is what you're trying to avoid. You're really just trying to avoid the chaos, and you want to produce the stability. And one of the best ways to have stability is to put them in the back foot and make them chase you around at their resource towers, and then that's how you win. It's kind of like StarCraft or any other game where, like, if you hit hard and early and you keep reinforcing it, then they might be stuck defending right there at their initial tech point. You know what I mean?
I mean, the game, apart from the obvious RTS role that the commander plays, is a very strategic game, of course.
Yes.
Which is what makes it really hard for new players to get in here.
That's what the Noob Haven is supposed to help solve, is that you don't have to get the strategy and all the mechanical skill and everything all at once. You can just play with people who have things to work on.
I just tend to
pick. I feel Murph there.
Ooh, what?
Insta-banned.
Yeah, that would ban someone for smurfing, for sure. It's got to be a safe place for new players to play and to just basically stretch their legs and start to learn.
Once you go over 117, 1100, you can't play anymore, so then you'd be forced to play on. So even if it would inflate the second you play with people,
yeah, if you go to the other,
it should,
yeah, it'll exactly. You'll go to the other server and then you'll get smashed, and then you'll go back to the new Baven, and then you'll go. My hope is that if we get enough players to play, I would make a second tier server where it's basically like tier 4 to tier 6.
Mid tier, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, mid tier server.
So what exactly are these tiers? Are they a real
It's
thing,
it's
or
your
are they more of a thing that you lot use to kind of gauge how good?
Okay, hold tab and then click and then put your mouse over people's rank icons, so those colorful icons. Put your mouse over it.
I'm terrible.
Yeah?
You see it? This is your skill, and you have a...
Oh wait, the one to become... Yes.
Okay, so the way it works is... Yeah, you get... If you get a win, your number goes up. If you get a loss, it goes down. And there's a different number for your Marine, a different number for your Alien, a different number for Marine Commander, and a different number for Marine Alien. And your overall skill rating or your tier is what range of numbers you're in. So like tier 3 is like, I don't know, 1200 to 1700 or 1600 or something like that, right?
Well, I'm very proud of my tier 0.
Well, that's just a start, right? So
I know.
So the way this works is that your Marine and Alien non-commander skills are averaged together to make your overall tier. And then the commander skill is used to balance the game when you're in the command chair. Right, because when you command, your win-loss.
That's why it always says why people are always calling for commander skill tier balance. Yeah.
Because commanders don't count towards the median team skill.
Well, yeah, it's a completely different game.
Well, in the shuffle they do. So in the shuffle, the commander skill is average.
Must say though, with the average of like your Marine and Alien skill, I was 2-2 on Alien and 2-1 on Marine, and it still gave me 209 as my total skill. So it seems a bit weird.
I could be wrong, but from what I've noticed, it's an average of the two. Because right now my Marine is at like tier 7, and my Alien is halfway through tier 6. And the average skill between them is exactly somewhere halfway in between the two. So I'm tier 6. And I've only lost a lot of hive skill in this new patch. They can't balance the game against my exploits.
Yoko, there's a nice spreadsheet or like a nice article on how high skill works. It's very hard to understand though.
But it's mathematical, but they did change some stuff recently when they split it up. And so it's 2.0 version now. And one of the things that it does is it will predict whether or not you were intended to win versus you were intended to lose. And if you were intended to...
You also gain elo more or less depending on what the game thinks.
And also the score.
It's kind of just a standard elo system where there's a prediction about who's going to win or lose.
And then, yeah, but the amount you gain or lose depends in part on that prediction. Is that prediction? Yeah, so like the team with more hive skill on average... I think is the one that's likely to win. Yeah.
That's why they get less elo if they win and lose more.
Yes, exactly.
Elo system.
Yes.
And the earlier you take part of the game, the more your actions sway, because like if you join the last 5 minutes, you're barely.
Yeah, it's about the score. It's the amount of score that you get will impact how much of it you get.
If you get like double the score of the guy before you, if you joined in the last 5 minutes, they might still get more elo.
Oh yeah, time and score though. It's time and score.
Yeah, because the time in the early game is way more than late game.
Honestly, it's something I personally don't even really care about.
You will. It'll be fun.
If I get better, it'll go up.
Yeah, but then like there will be a point in time where you're massaging your skill because you're like, hey, like I gotta work on this or that. Okay, I'm winning games, my skill's going up. Like, you'll learn how to win more because of it.
Yeah, but you need to understand I'm completely not a competitive guy, so...
Okay, well then that statement must be true. About the whole...
I've got a little question, Nightmare.
Yes?
What exploits were you using before?
When I say exploits, what I mean is that like I was defining a meta for myself that was very effective, and that meta doesn't work the same way anymore with the new balance.
I'll set an exploit.
That's not an exploit, it's just exploiting the balance of like what the balance is, if that makes sense. Like if the balance favors a certain upgrade path over another one, then I'm just using the term exploit as like lightly.
Playing the meta.
Yeah, I didn't mean it as like nefarious, malicious exploit. I meant like, if you know like Shade Hive is very effective compared to Shift Hive, and you go Shade Hive a lot and you really abuse like how good it is by using all the features it has, etc.
Something happened in subsector.
Somebody's screwed. That's funny. Someone was giving clusters. So I didn't mean it as exploiting as in cheating. I meant more like, none of the stuff that I was doing that worked really well is working in the same way now. So I've lost 400 hive skill.
Hive changes.
But is that maybe because the meta also kind of changed?
That's what I'm saying. When they did a huge balance change, the meta now needs to be defined by experience.
But it seems like Lurks can't be as good as the
Gorge
anymore.
Right, because of the regen.
Exactly, and now...
Yeah, but the pack play people are pack playing way more now all of a sudden than they were before.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
It
interesting.
just feels like in a big group of Marines, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but aliens are pack playing way more than before, dude. I'm telling you. Yesterday and the day before, me and Hustlebones were raging because it was like, you know, whenever I'm on a team, no one wants to bite any res or group up or do anything. They just run around aimlessly. And then when I'm on the other team, all the aliens are in a big giant death ball, and I'm just getting pummeled.
Teamwork is unfair.
Well, yeah, but why can't my team do teamwork? Why does it only have to be the other team?
It's because I'm half asleep every
Because,
time
I mean,
Nex, you're always on that other team, Nex. This is bullshit. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like, I'll have an alien team. I'll get us up to 2 hives, have all the upgrades going and everything, and they're just like aimlessly running around at the naturals.
And I've already flashed like 2 work.
Yeah, but like, it's the fact that they're not killing res that gets annoying.
Exactly. Like, I can't life form. I can't fade, especially because no one's killing res. So like, I just have to say Skulk or Lurk to hit RTs.
Yeah.
Which is why I really appreciate.
But it's probably
hit RTs because
it's also a communication. Like if we say like, okay, you and you go over there, this one. Like I find that works really well. Like, call people out by name, go to this specific RT, kill it.
Yeah, it works better than just saying go bite res.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to repeat the thing that I don't like that I've had to learn to do with NS is repeat myself a billion times every time I say something.
Yeah.
Like just say the same thing over and over and over. It's like they're doing so much mentally that they're not processing what you're calling out or saying.
Pretty much.
Okay, so so rotations are kind of important, and something to talk about that we always kind of go over when we do a training is the idea of when you spawn, looking at the configuration of the other team, of your teammates, and looking at what's happening and deciding where to go based on that. And really, if you're a brand new player, you're going to want to like go into Noob Haven and probably run with another player, do like 2-3 players in a group. But once you get to the point where you're comfortable and you can hold your own, there are times where, like maybe on this map, there's one guy running Overlook and you see that West Junction's open. You don't want the Skulks to maybe go through the nanogrid vent and then come up through West Junction and kill Skylights. What you want to do is you spawn, don't go to Topographical if there's like 4 or 5 Marines on the right. Go to Skylights, push through West Junction, and push down to System. Right? Like, because you're plugging a hole. It's like, you can think of it like a ship on the ocean, and there's holes, and water can get through, and you want to block the water from going, you don't want to sink. So every time there's a hole, plug it.
Path is covered, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then there's times where you can leave certain paths open if you're doing a trade. Like, if you know the aliens only have 3 RTs and you're on 5 or 6, and you really think that, like, okay, I'm in a position I can kill C12, for example, then leaving a hole in order to kill C12 can be okay. You know, if it turned out that they all base rushed through that and you lost the game, well, that's pretty bad, but...
Yeah.
So the rotations are about understanding where your teammates are and how to move in coordination with them by understanding where to go when you spawn, understanding how to react when someone dies and you need to maybe push into that lane and block it, or when to group up with the second person and go kill a resource tower. All of those things are things you should at least know that it's something you're going to have to learn. It's something that's very difficult to describe, just going off of the top of your head and saying, well, how do you tell someone what to do or how to think about this? But think about the concept of understanding that when you should be looking at the map. And also, if you're a new player and you haven't done this yet, you should go into the advanced settings and go to your map and change the opacity to something like 0.25, 0.3, 0.5, something that's comfortable for you. I use 0.25. But go into options, go to advanced, and click map, and then that first thing there that says map background opacity, change it to like 0.25.
Alright.
And what that does is when you're running around, you can either focus on what you're running and looking at, or you can look at the map. You can actually
now I can indeed see a lot more of the background.
Yes, and this is important because you don't want having the map open to be an impediment to seeing things, and you don't want it to be something that you use less often because you can't see through it. You want to use it constantly. I pretty much read the map as I'm running through the map in a lot of cases.
I've been doing that as well, mostly because, well, I don't really know where to go. So if somebody says, like, go to C12,
yes,
I, like, open the map, or I'm here, C12 is there, alright, let's go there. And so I really use it also to navigate.
Wait, do you guys see the Gorge spit?
Where?
No, when you go to very low energy, lifeforms just stop having animation.
Yeah, it's a bug. It's a bug that they're working on. I actually see it on the server side, by the way.
No, so Onos Bone Shield got changed this patch, so it's just like it's just a big HP boost it gets while it uses it. Before that, it made everything that hits it from the front like it
Do
did
nothing
instant damage.
almost. Very
So
little.
In a sense, that's locational damage. But yeah, now there's no headshots or anything.
Oh well. It's getting kind of late on this side of the pond.
Yeah. I think we're pretty good for today. I mean, I hope I answered the questions and gave you.
I had a nice New Year's party yesterday, so I'm kind of tired.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
What lifeforms are you wondering about? Happy New Year.
And thanks for the information. I hope I'll be able to use it soon whenever I have some time to play the game. Yeah.
Good job, dude.
Bye.
Congratulations on joining the training, finding it.
Yeah. Thanks. I want to say good night, but I believe most of you are in the US, so.
Well, Trixie.
Happy afternoon.
All right.
You have 50 bullets, and you need